Finding that next great series to binge watch is fun, but your neck, shoulders, and body don't count that as me time. Hi, I'm Tamara Miller, owner of Organic Element Spa, and I invite you to put down the remote, get off the couch, and schedule yourself some real me or we time with your favorite service, like one of our many massages, couples massages, or facials. Your health, safety, and comfort are always top priority with us at Organic Element Spa. We can't wait to see you. Book your appointment today.
What if your next ride was more than just a ride?
What if it was an epic adventure filled with unforgettable memories?
At Panoramic Moto Tours, we take you beyond the ordinary, offering curated routes, privately guided with all the details handled.
Our passion is to share the joy of riding incredible roads, exploring new sights and towns, and connecting with others and sharing our stories.
Sound good to you?
What are you waiting for? Let's create your custom tour, or join us on one of our upcoming tours.
The Lost Coast and Trinity Alps, May 16th through the 19th, or the Oregon Coast and Cascades Tour, June 22nd through the 26th. Just click the Tours tab at panoramicmototours.com or call 541-622-3844.
panoramicmototours.com. Your next adventure starts here.
This week on the John Ankerberg Show,
imagine never knowing the gift of love, joy, peace, and hope found in God's Word. For many, that's reality. They long to read it, but can't. For example,
over the years, we've been working with Bible translators, but when they get done with the translation, the majority of the people can't read it. They're non-literate.
So how can we help them?
join me for the John Ankerberg Show weekdays at 4 o'clock right here on the Dove TV. It'll be encouraging and informative.
What kind of life are you living? You want to be a happy person? Don't chase happiness. Chase after God. Come to God and He will clean your life up. You just come as you are.
Help the Dove with much needed equipment for our remodel. Pray about giving to our spring boost. Thank you from the Dove.
Well, good morning, good morning. Happy Thursday, better known as Friday. Welcome to Mornings on the Dove, where Jerry Building can say anything he wants to say.
Yeah.
And I get the emails.
Thank you very much.
Anyway, good morning to you. Happy Thursday. This is a big day on the Passion Week calendar. This is Maundy, Thursday. Yeah. And this is the day that the 12 disciples abandoned Jesus. So to explain that further, some churches and traditions will recognize this day. Some don't. I'll have Pastor Dr. Dustin Jernigan in to help explain this.
Well, I wanted to ask you, because you had a good segment on yesterday with what? Dr. Pastor Rick Boya. Yeah. And how do you say that?
It's
Pastor, Dr. Pastor.
I think it's the Reverend Dr. Rick Boya.
Okay. All right. Okay. That was great.
So this would be the Reverend Dr. Dustin Jernigan.
Okay. I look forward to it.
I think it's so high up in the academic world that it gets real fuzzy up there. But anyway, some churches recognize today. If you've never been to a Maundy Thursday service, let me encourage you to see if you've never been to one. I know that the First Presbyterian Church in Jacksonville will have one. Mm-hmm. And what you do is, it's a tenebrae service, which means it's done in the dark. And it's all done with candlelights.
Okay.
And so what happens is there's 12 candles, though, representing the 12 disciples. And then as you read the various scriptures, you extinguish a candle as each disciple abandoned Christ. And the only thing left behind a cross is the Christ candle. And you walk out in the dark. It's pretty moving.
All right.
It brings this whole day into significance. So the question that I'm going to ask Dustin is, what happens to Jesus between this day and tomorrow?
Yes.
That
all right.
24-hour period.
Yeah.
So we'll talk about that.
All right. Very good.
All right. So anyway, good morning to you. A lot going on in the news. We'll have all that for you, at least some of the stories. Craziness abounds in the judicial world.
Oh, golly. Oh, man.
You know what? I think you and I ought to become justices. Because I really think justice would be served.
Is justice blind?
It seems to be crazy.
Yeah, it seems to be. Somebody seems to be peeking.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It's just got some, I've learned now what all attorneys learn before they graduate from law school.
What, how to do billing?
The answer to every question is, it depends.
It that's true, too.
That's the answer to every legal question. It depends.
Yeah, you know what? I use that a lot with Pam.
How's that going for you?
Not well.
I didn't think so.
Not well.
All right. Anyway, good morning to you. What's going on today?
All right, give me 5.
All right.
All right, it's National High Five Day.
All right.
And they're actually trying to track when high five started. I've been reading the story that said Dusty Baker, who was a Los Angeles Dodger, did the very first high five in 1977 after he rounded third base after hitting a home run. I'm like, what? Are you kidding me? There was no high fives before 1977? I don't know. I call foul on that one. So, but anyway.
What about the bump?
Oh, the fist bump?
Yeah.
I don't know. That's a recent development, I think.
Yeah. Was that COVID?
I think that was COVID, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Hey, bro.
Yeah.
And no more, no more five fives, no more handshaking. Are people still bumping, or are people shaking? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I always like to bump people after I blow my nose.
Don't say that. Oh, golly. Okay.
Too early for that?
I was not ready for that one.
What are you looking up for?
Oh, I'm looking something up here because it is National Haiku Poetry Day. And I'm trying to find an example here because haiku poetry is Japanese poetry, non-rhyming, which is good for me. I can do that. It consists of 3 lines with a syllable pattern of 5-7-5, usually an element of nature, a season, a moment of beauty, or an individual experience inspires haiku poems. And I do have some examples, but I don't have them in front of me. But next hour I'll show you. Anyway, it's also National Crawfish Day, a smaller freshwater cousin to the lobster. They provide a unique flavor to many homegrown southern dishes. But the bottom line, how do you eat crawfish? How do you prepare it? Well, take a look at this.
Hi, I'm Pam from the Southern Living Test Kitchen, and this is how you eat crawfish. If you'll take the body right here and the tail like this and just break it away like that, and you can see your meat and your fat. That's all the good yum. Peel away the first little ridge, and then you should be able to just squeeze it like this, and then you eat all of that.
Hot dog. And you like crawfish?
Well, I've had it.
We pull it out of Elk Creek once in a while.
Oh, do you?
Yeah, we set traps down there, pull crawfish out, and it's delicious stuff.
So how do you cook it? You steam it?
Yeah. You boil it, steam it, right? And the nice thing about crawfish is it's one of those things that you can eat or use as fishing bait.
Yeah. It just seems like a whole lot of work for a whole lot of little.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, that's why
kind of like eating crab.
Right. It's much more rewarding to eat a big lobster, huh?
With a big price.
Right. With a big price. So
Yeah.
enjoy your crawfish. And one other thing to eat, National Cheese Ball Day.
Oh.
Yeah, recognizing a party food that can sometimes be the centerpiece of a spread. You can choose from 2 ways to celebrate 2 or plan your party, serve both. So here's a big question. How do I prevent crackers from breaking when scooping from a cheese ball?
Well, you have to have a little knife, a little cheese knife.
Ding, 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 ding. You are the winner.
Yeah, you have to have a little knife and then put it on. Otherwise, you break your cracker every time.
Right, and they also say a good tip is allow your cheese ball to warm up to room temperature. It's a little softer coming out, that way.
Okay.
So it's not so when it's cold, it's more gluey.
Those little cheese knives.
Yeah.
But you know what?
What?
You don't use it until you break 3 crackers. It's sitting there on the plate. You don't really use it.
All right, so we got crawfish and cheese balls. Just don't call me one.
Okay, well, we won't, cheesehead. And here he is doing the weather.
High pressure will allow dry conditions and above normal temperatures to continue through the end of the work week. So today in northern Oregon and southern Washington, sunny with daytime high temperatures near 70 in Vancouver, Portland, and Wilsonville, and near 69 in McMinnville. Sunny skies continue as we move down the Willamette Valley with daytime highs in the upper 60s from Salem down through Albany, Corvallis, and Eugene with a light northeast wind 5 to 9 miles per hour. In Central Oregon, sunny with a high near 60 in Prineville and mid-50s for Bend and Sun River with a low in Sun River near 29. Over in Boise, Idaho, sunny and windy with a high temperature near 60. Along the Oregon coast, patchy fog, then sunny, breezy and low 70s in Coos Bay, sunny in upper 50s to low 60s for Port Orford, Brookings, and Crescent City, California. In southern Oregon, sunny for the Rogue Valley with daytime high temperatures in the low to mid-70s for Grants Pass, Medford, and Ashland. In the Klamath Basin, sunny with highs in the mid-60s. Into northern California, sunny in upper 60s to low 70s in Wairika, sunny and near 79 in Redding, decreasing clouds and becoming sunny in low to mid-70s for Chico and Sacramento with a light west wind. In the Bay Area, decreasing clouds gradually becoming sunny with highs near 67 in Santa Rosa and Napa, becoming sunny in San Francisco with a high near 63, and today in San Jose, mostly sunny in upper 60s. It's a snapshot of your Thursday weather on the Dove.
And there's a snapshot of our beautiful valley waiting for the sun to come all the way up, looking westward. Still see some city lights out there, so pretty nice.
But here's a great way to start the day. We have Anne Graham Lotz, and she illustrates how Jesus is the only way with a simple story of D.L. Moody.
Try to illustrate it. One of my favorite stories. The grown man told this story to my mother. It was a story of when he was a little boy. It's a true story. He said when he was a little boy, he was in London, England. He wanted to hear Dr. Moody preach, D.L. Moody, and he heard that he was preaching in this particular church, and so he went to this church, and he walked up to the door to go inside, and the doorkeeper grabbed him on the shoulder and spun him around and said, "Little boy, where do you think you're going?" And the little boy looked up at him, and he said, "I'm going to hear Dr. Moody preach." And the doorkeeper looked at his uncombed hair and his unwashed face and his little raggedy clothes and his unshod feet, and he said, "Not you. You're too dirty to go inside that church." And so the little boy just put his nose up in the air and thought, well, I'll find another way in. So he went all the way around the church, but the windows were too high and the doors were all locked and he couldn't get inside the church. So he came back and he sat on the front steps, and tears began to come down his cheeks because he was hopeless. He was helpless. He couldn't get inside that church. He couldn't go hear Dr. Moody preach. And just about then, a distinguished-looking man came walking up the steps, and he stopped and he saw the little grimy face with the tear streaks, and he said, "What's wrong?" The little boy told him, "They say I'm too dirty to go inside this church, and I wanted to hear Dr. Moody preach." And so the man looked at him, and then he held out his hand. He said, "Then put your hand in mine." So the little boy did, and hand in hand they walked up the steps. They came to the front door that had formerly been shut to the little boy. Now it was flung wide open. And the man and the little boy walked hand in hand down the center aisle, and they came to the front row, and the man put the little boy in the front row. Then the man got up on the platform and stood in the podium and went to preach because the man was D.L. Moody. The only way that little boy got inside that church was because he was holding the hand of Dr. Moody. You get it? The only way anybody ever gets into heaven, and it doesn't matter if you're Pope Benedict or Billy Graham or somebody who stayed last night to sweep up the arena after we left. It doesn't matter who you are or what you've done. The only way anybody gets into heaven is because they're holding the hand of Jesus.
Wow, she's good.
He is so powerful. What a story. What a great story. Yeah. All right, good morning to you. Happy Thursday. Let's check out some of the headlines. Of course, the judicial wrangling continues. Looks like Judge James Boasberg is back at it, and he now has apparently threatens to hold President Trump and his administration in contempt of court for not flying the gang member back to the U.S. Now, this has been an ongoing thing, but apparently he has found, quote, probable cause to hold President Trump and his administration in contempt. Now, what does this mean?
Yeah, who goes to jail?
Well, it is a little bit more complicated. I mean, right now, this is a powerful problem.
Okay. Yeah.
It does have teeth.
Yeah.
But can it happen? So, of all people to help explain this, Judge Andrew Napolitano was on Newsmax explaining it, and here's what he had to say.
Well, you know, there are two judges looking at the same thing. Judge Boasberg is looking at whether or not his order to turn the planes around, actually his initial order that the planes not leave, was intentionally ignored. Judge Zinix in Maryland is looking at whether or not the government is complying with the Supreme Court's order to extricate Mr. Garcia from El Salvador. Judge Boasberg's a little ahead of the game because he's had the case longer. So when a judge finds that there's probable cause for criminal contempt, that means that he, the judge, will file the criminal complaint against whomever he says engaged in the willful dereliction of his order. And the trial will be held before another judge, not before him, because he's the complaining party. This is very, very unusual for a lawyer. If any of these people as to whom he says there's probable cause of criminal contempt is a lawyer, for a lawyer, this is career-ending because it results in the loss of your license to practice law. He's really turning up the heat on the Trump administration with this one.
Okay, so from what I understand, they have to prove, the case is Boasberg has to prove that when he gave the order that it was intentionally denied because the planes either were in the air when he gave the order or left shortly after he gave the order. So they're going to have to do the timeline here really,
Does that
tight.
involve like going into flight logs and such things?
I think it does, but it also has to do with when did the president receive the order and act upon it. I mean, there's a lot of variables here. Now, will the Supreme Court step in again?
Yeah.
I don't know. But it's obvious now what's going on with these left-wing judges. And,
yes.
So to make matters even worse, I say worse, this show doesn't end. I mean, this is really interesting. You have a senator flying to El Salvador to get in to talk to Senator Holland from Maryland. Flew to El Salvador to talk to this gentleman that it was supposedly illegally deported. Okay, he gets to El Salvador. And he's refused to talk to him.
Right, yeah.
So he has to come back, and he's kind of got a little bit of hat in hand. So how does he twist the story that he gets over there? Because he basically wanted a photo op.
Absolutely, yes.
He gets over there, and it doesn't come to pass. Now, I have a couple of questions here.
What?
Who paid for the trip?
Yeah, that's a big question. Yeah, did you and I?
Did the taxpayers pay for it?
Yeah, did we?
Did the state of Maryland pay for it? Did he pay for it personally? Did he go on a government airplane?
Yeah.
I mean, all this stuff is going on. Yeah. So he gets over there, and he's not allowed to see the prisoner.
Right.
Okay, so he comes back, and he gets in front of all places, MSNBC.
Of course.
Okay, there's a friendly place to go.
Yeah.
And here's what he had to say.
Well, my goal is to keep a spotlight on this issue until justice is done, until the 9-0 opinion by the Supreme Court is implemented by the Trump administration, which is ignoring entirely that order that they need to facilitate his return. I asked the folks at the embassy whether they'd been ordered by the administration to do anything to facilitate his return. The answer was no, so they're clearly not in compliance. And I said to the vice president of El Salvador, look, you've got somebody in your worst prison, the prison for terrorists, who the United States court has said has committed no crime. And so I asked him if he had any evidence that Kilmar was a member of MS-13 or had committed any crimes. And he said, no. So I asked him why he was keeping Kilmar in prison here. And his answer was that essentially the Trump administration is paying the government of El Salvador taxpayer money to keep this person here despite the court orders.
Okay, do you realize what he may have done here if he can't prove that statement?
Oh, did he set himself up for a libel suit?
Well, perjury.
Perjury? Oh, well, perjury in front of who?
Well, in front of the media, if that's not true.
Yeah.
Okay, so...
Yeah, but politicians regularly do that. I mean, that's how they operate.
Okay. I'll give you that one.
Okay.
That's true. But so that's a wild statement. It's nowhere else in the news today.
Right, right.
It's not even on CNN.
Absolutely not.
All right, so something's really fishy.
And you bring up a bigger question. Who paid for your trip?
See?
That's the big one.
And so now, if the administration is paying El Salvador to keep the guy in jail, they're going to have to prove that. And how is that done?
Yeah.
So I'll tell you what they're going to argue.
What?
It's part of the tariff deal. You know, it's a deal.
Yeah.
And so they have to prove all that.
Let me ask you this. Why do Democrats want this gang member back in this country? What's the motivating factor?
Well, you know, sickness.
Yeah. Are they...
Isn't it interesting the length that they're going at to bring this guy back? Okay. From what we understand, he is an MS-13 member.
Right.
So he may not have committed a crime here.
Well, he has already, because he has multiple wife abuse charges against him.
Okay. Yeah. And he's got bags full of money in the wrong places.
Okay.
He's got dope in the wrong places.
Right.
Okay. So all this thing is falling apart, but it's still there. Why are the Democrats so anxious to protect a guy like this, and yet they're willing to kill babies?
That is a great question. I have no idea. I don't get it.
It's sick.
I don't get it.
Okay, the last story is shake-ups at the Pentagon. Number 3 goes out the door, all within about 2 days. The third top Pentagon official has now been suspended as part of the Defense Department's investigation into unauthorized information leaks. So number 3 goes, and folks, these are people not down in the ranks. They're within the top office. They reported Wednesday that the third known related suspension involves Colin Carroll, who has been serving as Chief of Staff to Deputy Defense Secretary Stephen Feinberg. So 3 people within the top of the Secretary and the Assistant Secretary's office were found to be the leakers. And they were giving information out that went to people that shouldn't have been on the list.
Okay.
So what's going on here?
Well, that's my question. How did this come about? Is this nefarious? Is this just a big mistake that somebody or a few people made? What's at the bottom of this?
I don't know. The only thing I can think of is that first of all, this sends a real message to the rest of the ranks.
I would think so, yeah.
You're either loyal or you're not.
Right.
You're either good at your job or you're not.
Right.
The other thing is that when you have an administration takeover, like it's happened now within the last 100 days, a lot of the old administration is still there. And you rely on those people as you make a transition. But if they have a bias and they don't like the incoming boss,
right,
they can do everything they can to make him unsuccessful or
we
her
saw
unsuccessful.
a lot of that in the first Trump term. We thought maybe this one was playing out a little bit differently, but perhaps not. You know, maybe there are some of those holdouts in there.
Well, I don't know, but this goes back to the Atlantic leak of inside information on Houthi attacks.
Yeah.
And so the question is, how did this happen, and how did it get onto the distribution list? You know,
have you ever accidentally sent an email to someone you didn't intend to? Did you ever?
Yeah, I guess. You know what?
What?
Would you fire me? Because I need some time off.
Okay.
Will you just send me out the back door, suspend me, I'll wave on my way out. We'll be right back.
Finding that next great series to binge watch is fun, but your neck, shoulders, and body don't count that as me time. Hi, I'm Tamara Miller, owner of Organic Element Spa, and I invite you to put down the remote, get off the couch, and schedule yourself some real me or we time with your favorite service, like one of our many massages, couples massages, or facials. Your health, safety, and comfort are always top priority with us at Organic Element Spa. We can't wait to see you. Book your appointment today.
Hello, everyone in Dove Land. My name is Todd Friel, host of Wretched TV, inviting you to join us for Wretched, the TV program I host, if you have evangelism heebie-jeebies, you're terrified to share your faith.
A ministry moment on the Dove.
And are you willing to say yes to the claims of Christ, that he is the Son of God, and that you want him to come into your heart and forgive your sins, and you want to know it? Oh, I know. Many of you have been baptized and confirmed. Most of you perhaps are members of some church, or you're identified with a church, or maybe you go to church 2 or 3 times a year. I don't know whether you do or not, but I'm sure a lot of you do. But you're not sure. You couldn't stand here tonight and say, I know my sins are forgiven. I know I'm going to heaven. God is willing to forgive all your past tonight because of the cross. God is willing to say, I forgive you because he loves you. And God is interested in you as though you were the only person in the whole world. And you can receive him tonight.
Okay, welcome back. You ever heard of the term, we have to read it to find out what's in it?
Oh, boy. Those are famous words. Nancy Pelosi.
Okay, yeah. So you know what's interesting about that? If you ever go to watch the legislature work, somebody says it's like making sausage.
What?
You know,
how does that work?
You get all the scraps and stuff it down this thing.
Political commentary.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so,
wow.
and if you go to Congress, you got all these bills, and how do you possibly read them? Do you remember when President Ronald Reagan walked out and he had the stack of bills? He had a bill. It was about this high. I don't know, thousands of pages, and he dropped it on the podium there, and he said, "They gave this to me last night and wanted me to sign it." Yes. I mean, it was a visual of all time.
It was, yeah.
All right. Well, it seems like our own blue state legislature is getting overwhelmed with bills.
Oh.
The number of bills proposed in the Oregon legislature just this year, you have any idea?
Not a clue.
More than 3,200.
What?
It set a record, okay? So that triggered a bill over in the House that's going through, we'll see if it goes anywhere, to limit the bills per long legislative session to 25.
Oh, man.
Well, first of all, if you're dealing with hundreds of bills, this is how, and what's so interesting to me, we are a deep blue state,
mm-hmm.
and the way the blue agenda gets through is you overwhelm the system.
Oh.
And you keep pushing your stuff through.
Right.
And all of a sudden, a bill that you don't think is significant is attached to a bill that is significant, and all of a sudden you're upside down.
Right.
Okay, that's kind of what's going on here. Well, in the meantime, even the legislators in the blue state are going, I don't know, this is a little too much. We've made it back up. So they introduced a bill, we'll see if it goes anywhere, to limit the amount of bills that the legislature can process during a session is 25. Wow. Now, I think that number's a little low.
Oh, okay.
So that could be, it could be a little Trumpish.
Yeah.
Let's start over here, and we'll end up over here.
Here we got the art of the deal going on here.
Going the other way. Instead of going way over the top, you bring it back. This is way under to bring it up.
How much more legislation do we need?
Well, you know, I don't know. I mean, the problem is, I think we need one whole session where they don't pass bills, they review bills and get away with old ones.
Great idea. Yeah.
Take one whole session and say, we're not going to introduce any bills. We're going to review bills that are years old and ask ourselves, should we abolish them and clean it up?
Mm-hmm.
So, but anyway, apparently our blue legislators, not everybody's blue up there, a little overwhelmed with the system.
Oh, man.
They want to go from 3,200 to 25. Well, what are you supposed to do with the rest of your time up there? I don't know. It's a great story.
Yeah.
It's a little lopsided the other way.
Yeah.
So I'm just wondering if that is the art of the deal, to bring it back to the middle. So maybe they limit to 100. I don't know. But 3,200, who's going to read 3,200 bills?
Oh, God.
You'll be up all night reading bills.
Yeah.
And here's the other thing that really you cannot get an answer to it.
Okay.
Who writes them?
Right. Okay. Yes. Who writes them, and then who actually reads them for their representative or their senator? Because representatives and senators aren't reading their own.
No, you have a staff that does that.
So are they reading it and then explaining it? How does it work?
A bill will get introduced. It'll go over to the legal part of each side has its own legal department that reviews them to see if they're legitimate and they can be done.
Okay.
So there's a group of attorneys and experienced people that knows the system to see if this thing can fly. And you got to be careful there because are those people biased?
Oh, yeah.
Then it goes into some legal AI machine. You drop it in there. And then you wait 10 minutes and you pull it out, and here it is. I don't know. I'm just saying that at the beginning.
Let me ask you something. You just scratched something that I think we're
I know where you're going now. Yeah.
Are we going to get AI writing bills?
Yep.
Oh, my goodness.
You will. So it's going to put a lot of pressure on staff to really review these things. And a case in point was the bill about the school banning phones.
Right.
I didn't see the bill.
Okay.
But just on the surface of the bill, it sounds good. I would have voted against it because I don't think it's well thought out.
Okay.
As much as I think something should be done.
Right. Well, yeah.
The question is, anyway, I don't.
Well, you're right. There are two sides to this.
Yeah.
Your initial gut reaction is, get rid of the distraction. But wait a minute, there's some other things involved. Yes.
But 3,200 bills to 25. Well, let's see how this goes. To be continued.
Okay.
To be continued. All right, let's take a look at the satellite image. That's happening right now, and it is beautiful out there.
How about that?
It's gorgeous as we head into Easter weekend. Very, very nice.
Well, a lot of pressure is being put on Iran right now. I don't know how it's going to play out, but with that maximum pressure being applied, General Jack Keane said he thinks that Iran is going to force Trump's hand, and he had a little comment on Fox Business's Maria. Let's take a listen.
Yeah, well, I think my expectations are pretty low. Iran is summarily rejecting any thought of dismantling the program themselves. I mean, what they want to do is move back to what they would define as commercial civilian nuclear power enrichment program, which is low-grade enriched uranium. Back when we had the nuclear deal with the Obama administration is what they're really talking about. And Maria, that's a distinction now without a difference. In other words, civilian nuclear power and nuclear weapons. Because Iran has technology that has advanced, as well as their engineers. They have developed advanced centrifuges. They can make enriched uranium very rapidly. They're right now capable of producing 6 nuclear weapons within a number of weeks because they've already developed the enriched uranium to the levels needed for that weaponization. So we have to understand who Iran is today. And that's why that makes no sense to try to form that difference, because it isn't a difference. And listen, President Trump and Prime Minister Netanyahu have all the cards here. Iran is relatively defenseless against an attack. They know it. They haven't retaliated against Israel since the October attack, which was devastating on them. They removed their defenses and much of their rockets and missiles. We've got maximum sanctions hanging over their head here. Their economy is in the tank. If they don't want to dismantle their program and get sanction relief and be welcomed in as a legitimate country, if they're going to stop their malign behavior in the region, then we execute the ultimatum that President Trump has laid down in front of them. And that would be an Israeli-led, U.S.-supported attack. It's something the president doesn't want to do, but Iran looks like they're going to likely force his hand.
Okay, a little bit of reminder there. Do you remember during the Obama administration when they said, oh, look, they just want to create nuclear power for their citizens?
Right.
Well, okay, we bought that lie.
Yes.
And so here we are. I think the general may be right there, that President Trump has now said enough, and Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu have said enough that they're going to have to respond.
I would think so, yeah, because there's only so much time before they actually, accomplish what they want.
It's really simple. You can put your emotions aside if you just look at it from the 30,000-foot view and get all the politics out of it.
Yeah.
Name me one time, just one, where Orion played by the rules.
Yeah, never.
Okay, so you can't trust them.
Right.
Yeah. All right, but you can trust today, because today is Crawfish Day.
Yeah.
And the only good thing about crawfish,
what,
is you and your hot sauce.
It's got to be hot. You got to have some heat in there. Yeah.
And so, what would you put on it?
Well, anything red that's got.
Anything that's red and hot.
It's got jalapeno in there,
Okay.
And I don't care if it's like Tabasco or if it's Frank's or anything in between. Pour it on, baby.
Okay, he puts it on his toast. We'll be right back.
Hi, Dad, father and son jewelry. Looking for engagement rings? Ovals, round, pear shapes, and more. All a third off at Father and Son Jewelry.
And let's not forget about our fellas. With Lashbrook, you can have it your way. From plain bands, precious or alternative, thick or thin, we can add stones, engravings, and inlays. Lashbrook can do it all.
Father and Son Jewelry.
Your family jeweler since 1958.
Visit Father and Son Jewelry, 5 generations of family in Medford.
Co-op, where big ideas grow.
Our goal at the Dove is to glorify God and help our audience connect more closely with Him. Something else we do here at the Dove is help connect our audience with reliable businesses and vice versa. Some call it advertising. Here at the Dove, we call it outreach. Connecting businesses with people they can help and our audience with reliable businesses for the help they need. If you would like to reach out to our audience with your business or service, give us a call, 541-776-5368.
This week on The John Ankerberg Show.
The polls of the Pew Research Center show that 4 in 10 Americans believe we are living in the last days. Further, they found out that 70% of evangelical Christians believe Christ could return during their lifetime. Where does the Bible talk about these things? Join me for The John Ankerberg Show weekdays at 4 o'clock right here on the Dove TV. It'll be encouraging and informative.
Okay, welcome back. Happy Thursday to you. Maundy Thursday for those who recognize that during Holy Week. We'll be talking about that a little bit later on coming up this morning. Look forward to that. Well, how close are we?
To what?
Conflict in the Middle East.
Yeah.
I don't know. Let's check in with CBN Newswatch and get updated.
This is CBN Newswatch.
And we begin in the Middle East, where Iraqi Christians are waiting to see if President Trump will step in to protect them from Iran. While the New York Times is reporting the president pulled Israel back from a military strike on Iran's nuclear facilities. CBN Middle East correspondent Julie Stahl has the story from Jerusalem.
The New York Times reports President Trump refused to back an Israeli attack on Iran's nuclear facilities that could have come as soon as next month. In a White House meeting, he told Israel's Benjamin Netanyahu he wants to make a deal to convince Iran to voluntarily abandon its pursuit of nuclear weapons. Trump also says there will be military action against Iran's nuclear facilities if a deal can't be reached soon. However, Iran's top negotiator says his country won't stop enriching uranium and refuses to discuss the issue.
The core issue of enrichment itself is not negotiable.
Meanwhile, a religious freedom activist is raising the alarm over an Iranian-backed takeover of a Christian enclave in northern Iraq. Nadine Menza sent an urgent letter to President Trump asking him to step in and save the Iraqi Christians in the Nineveh Plains from this persecution happening now. Trump's senior advisor Paula White Cain says the White House Faith Office acts quickly in such cases.
To push back, to make sure that people are protected, not killed, not persecuted, and then it perhaps, depending on the situation, goes to the highest level, and our president makes that final decision with all the briefings, with all the information, and takes that action. And I have never not seen him take action where action is needed.
She says a bedrock commitment of the Trump White House is protecting religious rights.
When people are persecuted for them, killed for them, when their families are destroyed, when their lives are destroyed, as a nation, we have to stand up as that beacon of light and saying one religious liberty wrong to one person is a religious liberty wrong everywhere. We cannot tolerate it. We will not tolerate it, because that is everyone's right to worship God.
While Israel is facing war and terrorism on 7 fronts, many pilgrims are coming to celebrate Holy Week. However, overall tourism is still down.
We need people to come back to Israel and visit these holy places and pray here, because prayer for the peace of Jerusalem is prayer for the peace of the whole world.
Albert Vexler of the Jerusalem Prayer Breakfast says it's about more than just tourism, but supporting the nation of Israel.
Moreover, God's word is very clear. Those who love Jerusalem will prosper.
Julie Stahl, CBN News, Jerusalem.
Thanks, Julie. Our Middle East Bureau Chief Chris Mitchell is with us now from Jerusalem. And Chris, let's start off with this New York Times story that President Trump backed off a strike on Iran's nuclear program for now after divisions emerged in his administration. What do you think were the most important points in that report?
Well, one of the important points, I think, Wendy, was the surprise of Netanyahu and his team. I think they had felt like the Trump administration and the government here were on the same page. Obviously not. I think, as the report said, that they wanted something in May. That may be delayed because of these negotiations. Another important point, I think, was the divisions within the Trump administrations about an attack and a reluctance by some to take on Iran militarily. Some wonder over here, what is the threat that Iran poses anymore? They have internal divisions within Iran. There's an economic collapse of the rial, their currency. Their proxies are nearly decimated. That would be the Houthis, Hamas, Hezbollah, including Syria, which was an asset of Iran. And then again, 2 attacks by Iran against Israel failed miserably. So some wonder, what is the threat of Iran right now, and why not go ahead with a military attack?
What's your assessment of how the Israeli government views the possibility now of a strike on Iran? Is it still likely to happen, or is Trump trying to avoid it?
Well, it seems like he's certainly want to put the pause on it right now while the negotiations are going on. Will it happen? It really may depend on the White House and what President Trump decides to do. This report really seems to indicate a strike is uncertain. Netanyahu wanted May, but that seems to be delayed, as I said, for these negotiations. Also, a complicating factor is CENTCOM Commander General Cruella is leaving. They would want him on to help coordinate attack. The time to attack and a potential time remains to be seen. But, Trump's a negotiator. He's famous for the art of the deal, and I think he wants to give negotiations a time to go ahead and work before an attack.
I think there's a couple things here. One is if there's leaks in the administration, he's got to pull back so that the element surprise still remains on the table.
Yeah.
Number 2 is that I think the art of the deal here is to get Iran to refuse to talk.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So they've already said stopping uranium enrichment is a non-starter with them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So they need to get them to say that in the meeting with President Trump.
Okay.
So I think what he's trying to figure out here, he's trying to say to the world, we did everything we can.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they refused.
Yeah.
And at that point, then he also has to protect the surprise element. And I think probably behind the scenes, given what's happened over in the Pentagon in the last couple of days, they're trying to find out, can we pull this off without any leaks?
Right. Yeah, and that's a big question.
And that's part. Yeah, that's all speculation.
Yeah.
I don't know if any of that's true.
Yeah.
I know the guy that tries to be true in the weather.
Yeah.
He does a pretty good job with it.
He tries. High pressure will allow dry conditions and above normal temperatures to continue through the end of the work week. So today in northern Oregon and southern Washington, sunny with daytime high temperatures near 70 in Vancouver, Portland, and Wilsonville, and near 69 in McMinnville. Sunny skies continue as we move down the Willamette Valley with daytime highs in the upper 60s from Salem down through Albany, Corvallis, and Eugene with a light northeast wind 5 to 9 miles per hour. In central Oregon, sunny with a high near 60 in Prineville and mid-50s for Bend and Sun River with a low in Sun River near 29. Over in Boise, Idaho, sunny and windy with a high temperature near 60. Along the Oregon coast, patchy fog, then sunny, breezy, and low 70s in Coos Bay. Sunny in upper 50s to low 60s for Port Orford, Brookings, and Crescent City, California. In southern Oregon, sunny for the Rogue Valley with daytime high temperatures in the low to mid-70s for Grants Pass, Medford, and Ashland. In the Klamath Basin, sunny with highs in the mid-60s. Into northern California, sunny in upper 60s to low 70s in Wairika, sunny and near 79 in Redding, decreasing clouds and becoming sunny in low to mid-70s for Chico and Sacramento with a light west wind. In the Bay Area, decreasing clouds gradually becoming sunny with highs near 67 in Santa Rosa and Napa, becoming sunny in San Francisco with a high near 63, and today in San Jose, mostly sunny in upper 60s. It's a snapshot of your Thursday weather on the Dove.
Beautiful, beautiful. Look at that. That is off the top of Roxanne looking out towards the west, and just a beautiful shot of our little haze out there this morning.
Yeah.
I wonder if that's a little heat haze.
I wonder.
Yeah.
I wonder. Hey, do you listen to podcasts?
Hmm?
There are a lot of podcasts out there. Is there anything that catches your fancy?
Well, the interesting thing about podcasts, when I'm in my truck and I try to listen to one, I usually get to my destination before the program ends.
I do that a lot too. Yep.
Yeah.
So I just put it on pause. I come back and I return to it.
Do you?
And I especially love to listen. There are a number of podcasts. What do you listen to?
Well, I've been. You're not going to believe this.
Okay.
I don't want to give the title away yet because I'm actually going to have these guys on the air.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because they're a hoot.
Okay.
And a couple of pastors and other guys that are very much down in the South. And they have a really Southern, really drawn-out accent.
Okay.
I mean, it just a lot of slur.
Okay. Will I need closed captions to understand?
You may. But I thought I talked to them on the phone. I said, I think we ought to have you on. I want their podcast is really, really quite millions of people listening to it.
Okay.
And I said, I just want to interview you guys. And then we'll see where it goes from there.
Okay.
But anyway, you can't understand them.
No kidding. Well, all right.
Well, you got a country church with half your members are members of the World Wrestling Association.
Oh, no. Well, no wonder you can't get through the whole podcast before.
That took him 20 minutes to say that.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Anyway, right. I'm sorry.
Okay, that's okay. Well, one of those that I like is real survival stories. You hear what amazing stories, what people go through. And with that in mind, it was on this day in history that the whole world watched to see if 3 astronauts would win their fight for survival. On April 17, 1970, the world held its breath. High above the Earth, a small silver capsule, battered, scorched, and fragile, pierced the atmosphere. Inside, 3 astronauts, James Lovell, Fred Hayes, and Jack Swigert, braced for the final leg of a journey that nearly claimed their lives. Just 4 days earlier, an oxygen tank aboard Apollo 13 had exploded, crippling their spacecraft and turning a mission of discovery into a fight for survival. They had looped around the moon after taking refuge in the lunar module, cold and rationing air, guided only by ingenuity, teamwork, and ground control's brilliance. Now, flames ignited on the heat shield as the command module plunged through re-entry with radio silence, then parachutes bloomed like flowers in the sky. Cheers erupted in Mission Control. At 1:07 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Apollo 13 splashed down in the Pacific Ocean. Against all odds, the crew was safe. It wasn't a moon landing. It was actually something much more. Wow. Interesting, too, though, because, they didn't accomplish their mission of a moon landing. But Apollo 13 is one of the more famous of all the Apollo flights. I mean, Tom Hanks even, had made a feature film about it.
Yeah, and who was the director was...
Ron Howard.
Ron Howard.
Yes,
yeah.
Ronnie Howard, little Ronnie Howard.
And they went up in 707s and did weightlessness.
And did that weight loop.
Where they take a plane up and they push it down.
Would you like to do that?
I'd love to do that. Yeah. And what they do is that created a weightlessness only in a matter of seconds, and they had to film all these things in seconds and then edit it all together.
Wow.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
That'd be fun.
Well, yesterday I had here's another one, let's see, the Reverend Dr. Rick Boya on yesterday. We talked about the sequence from Palm Sunday through the crucifixion to Easter, and here's his summary.
The presentation of Christ on Palm Sunday really reminds us that the only one who knew anything real was Jesus himself. Everyone else in that week, from Sunday, Palm Sunday, all the way through to Easter, no one else knew at all what was going on in the spirit realm or what God was doing for the destiny of the world. Only Jesus knew that. Even his own disciples, who he loved, did not comprehend what was really going to happen. Jesus was alone in his knowledge. And that aloneness went all the way through the week until he was stripped of everything, killed, and finally, of course, resurrected. But that week is super intense. I mean, he was in the temple regularly, arguing with the Jewish leadership, proclaiming the kingdom, making everybody know who he really was. And so, the period of time in between Palm Sunday and Easter Sunday is very important theologically, and it's very important practically for us too, because we realize Jesus actually came to die for people he could not trust. None of them knew at all. Humans are so ignorant and rebellious against God. And still, from the moment, actually through his entire ministry, but from the moment of the triumphal entry, focused on dying for the sins of people who were, pardon me, but too dumb to know God and too rebellious against God. He just walked right through that because of his love for us. It's an amazing thing.
Wow. Isn't that powerful?
Yeah.
All right, we'll take a quick break. We'll be right back.
The Lennox iComfort S30 thermostat can sense changes in your environment. It even knows when you come and go. So now your home's most important system is also the smartest.
Metal Masters can give you the smartest home comfort system available. It knows when you're away and adjusts when allergens and humidity get uncomfortable. Trust Metal Masters to provide perfect air for your family.
Lennox. Air is life. Make it perfect.
Stewardship begins with the knowledge that nothing belongs to us, but everything belongs to the Lord. This helps us to run a business not in the fear of lack, but in the assurance of his care and provision. Such a perspective eliminates the drive to sell and replaces it with a heart that says serve. This begins with serving our clients and coworkers with integrity and genuine care. That's why at Kelly's, it's automotive service with a heart for God, and treating others as we ourselves would want to be treated. Our promise is to never sell our clients anything we don't believe they need. Another is to do all we can to meet other needs, such as shuttle service and loaner cars, or taking the time to really listen, even at times praying with our customers. Sometimes this means sacrifice, going above and beyond, but that's why I work for Kelly's Automotive Service, honoring God while serving people with honesty and integrity.
You might have said, as many people have said to me, Alex, it's too late. I've wasted years. I'm too far gone. Please don't believe that lie. You can call out to Christ. He will hear you. He will receive you. He has a plan for you. You might have a short time left in this world, you think. God still has a plan for you. And today, God's will for your life will become operative as you turn to Him.
Welcome back. Happy Thursday to you, Monday, Thursday, during this Passion Week. Well, is there a problem with air traffic controllers amongst all the other things? I can tell you this, there's a shortage.
Yeah.
Okay, and so Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy was on Fox Business with Stuart Varney, and they talked about it.
It is. So, again, this is a longer-term problem, Stuart. And not only do you train up an air traffic controller over, 3-4 months in the academy, they have to get into towers. It takes 1 year to 3 years to train them up. There's been some bottlenecks in the system. We train about 2,000 air traffic controllers every year. We need to up that to 2,700. That's the first problem. But the second problem is we have too many controllers that retire after 25 years of service. And so we have to look and go, is this a national security issue? Is this a safety issue? And should these air traffic controllers be retiring after 25 years of service? Should we have another calculation that happens because of the national security component of our airspace? That's something that we're looking at with the administration, because again, the only way you actually can build these numbers if you add 2,000 people into the system and you don't have 2,000 people who leave the system. That's the only way the numbers work. So it's going to be a broader conversation, but we're going to focus on it. And again, air travel is the safest mode of transportation in the country. You can't travel anywhere safer than on an airplane. A lot of news coverage about crashes now, but again, we're working our hearts out to make sure everything is safe. More air traffic controllers, and we have a better air traffic control system, new investments. And again, it's going to take us time to undo what wasn't done over the last 4 years, Stuart.
Okay, one other little add vote to that.
Okay.
We need to spend the money to update the equipment. We're dealing with almost archaic equipment in some of these towers and facilities. We need to get that upgraded as well. And I'll just stop there because I could go off on it. But I got to tell you, this is an issue, and he's spot on with his concerns.
Got another big question for you.
I'm sure you do.
Are we going to see AI into this in the future?
No.
Okay.
You can't do that. You may have AI in what they call IFR clearances, but you won't have AFI in the tower. AI in the tower.
Okay. Nope. That is actually reassuring.
Now, you could have AI in the cockpit.
Hey, I got to tell you the truth. I've looked at AI chat, write some history thing for me. They get facts wrong all the time. I'm like, no.
No, I said runway 2 left, not 2 right.
Okay, let's look at something fun. At a McDonald's in Massachusetts, hundreds of customers retreated to a free meal thanks to one incredibly generous stranger. Last week at the McDonald's in Haverhill, a man walked in, handed the cashier a wad of cash, and simply said he wanted to pay for everyone's meals until the money ran out. From 1:30 till 5 o'clock p.m., franchise owner David Yee and his daughter Christine Yee gave away 356 meals, all paid for by the anonymous donor. Initially, they were skeptical, concerned the money might be counterfeit. However, local police later confirmed the cash was real. Christine said she had never seen anything like it. She said, "We have customers in the drive-thru regularly offer to pay for the car behind them, but that's just one order." To celebrate the unexpected generosity, Christine invited McDonald's beloved purple mascot Grimace to the restaurant and created special cards to hand out with each free meal. The cards, decorated with red and yellow hearts, read, "You have just received a random act of kindness. An anonymous Haverhill neighbor has paid for your McDonald's meal today. We hope this brightened your day. If you feel compelled, pay it forward to someone in your own way." Inspired by the stranger's selfless act, Christine and her father are also giving back by making a donation to the Ronald McDonald House charity. Christine said, "We were given a special opportunity to spread some kindness. We hope everyone who got a free meal today passes that good feeling of caring forward." I'll take the double fillet fish. Thank you.
I'm
very
sure
much.
you would. So, find out how much that was?
No, I don't know what the total on that was,
Wow.
but it was a lot of meals.
That's
Over
right.
3.
That's wonderful. Colossians 3:16. Let the word of Christ dwell in you richly in all wisdom, teaching and admonishing one another in psalms and hymns and spiritual songs, singing with grace in your hearts to the Lord. What a joyful word for you today. Take that with you. There's a sunrise over our backyard.
I want to hear your voice. I want to know you more. I want to touch you. I want to
Hi, I'm the SOS Alarm guy, here to tell you about a great deal. SOS Alarm will not only beat any internet deal, but will install the system too. So burglars, beware. SOS Alarm for security and beyond.
Spring is around the corner and summer is on its way. With fire danger biting at its heels, flammable blackberries and underbrush will grow like gangbusters and sprout fire danger in no time. A wise property owner knows the best time to take care of fire danger is to extinguish it before it gets started. GMV Forestry LLC can help you protect your property with adequate fire brush clearing to fireproof a zone around your precious property. With over 35 years experience, GMV Forestry LLC has the knowledge, experience, and all the equipment you need to get the job done right, offering a wide variety of services like mulching, field mowing, snow removal, driveway clearing, ditch cleaning, gravel delivery and spreading, driveway sweeping, logging, and more. GMV Forestry LLC does it all, and they do it right. GMV Forestry LLC, the team you can trust. 541-660-6445. 541-660-6445.
Buying or selling a home can be stressful. It's one of the biggest decisions you'll make in your lifetime. That's why it's important to work with someone you trust, someone who has the right experience and knowledge of the market.
Hi, we're Patrick and Paulina Lizer with Lizer Real Estate Group.
And whether you're looking to buy or sell a home, our mission is to take the stress out of the transaction and make it as seamless and rewarding as possible.
Contact us today. We look forward to working with you.
I could hear a rumble in the distance. My head kept saying to my gut, there's no way this is a tornado. My son, my 13-year-old son, wouldn't sit down. Instead, he stood up and he was just pacing back and forth. And several of them kept saying, you need to come over here with us. And he kept saying, no, if it's okay with you, I need to pace and pray for my dad. Praying specifically for me. They didn't know I was out on the trail.
Watch the 700 Club Thursday morning at 11 on the Dove TV.
God's eternal power and divine nature are seen in creation. But in a world blinded by darkness, the Life Outdoors is here to pull back the veil. The mountains don't lie. Truth leads to Jesus. Wake the wild within.
The Dove Spring Boost. Pray about helping us reach our $128,000 goal during our remodel. Thank you from the Dove.
Well, good morning, good morning. Happy Thursday. Welcome to Mornings on the Dove, better known as Maundy Thursday during this Holy Week. We'll talk about that. Here we are, singing in the kitchen, beating on the pots and pans.
Yeah.
And Jerry's here, that's all that counts.
Yeah, thank you very much.
His legs,
yeah.
how's your
it's
leg
here
doing?
too.
How you doing?
Yeah, it's suspended, you know. Things are feeling really good. Had a great night's sleep last night. It's
Really?
like, wow.
Really?
Yeah, you know, this mending process right now is a real positive thing, so thank you very much.
I don't think you'll be up this weekend. But the following weekend is the last weekend.
You know, there's a little pool going on right now about when Jerry will return.
Really?
Yes.
Well, it'll be next season.
Yeah, well, if I'm lucky, you know.
Really?
Yeah.
You could lose next season too?
Well, some have speculated that, but, you know, I'm too stubborn for that.
No, there's another word for it. It's a country term. I won't say it.
Oh, yeah, I think we all got it.
Okay. Anyway, good morning to you. Happy Thursday, Maundy Thursday. What is Maundy Thursday? It's the day when all of the disciples abandoned Jesus. And coming up a little bit later on today, I'm going to have the Reverend Dr. Dustin Jernigan in to talk about the significance of this day. Yesterday we had the Reverend Dr. Rick Boya in, and we talked about, actually from Sunday to today, we talked about the trial. And I don't know if you saw that. You'll have bits and pieces of it here in a minute, but you may want to go to our website and watch it. It is stunning. You go from Palm Sunday up through the trial, and how Jesus could at any moment said something that could change the circumstances.
Yeah.
But he didn't.
But he didn't, right.
Because he knew he had to go to the cross.
Right.
And so to die for the ones who were persecuting him.
Yeah. Yeah. And Rick put it well in that last segment too. Is like died for people who he didn't trust.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's an amazing thing. And so anyway, there's a lot of twists and turns in it. But today we'll talk about the day before the crucifixion. What happened? We'll talk about that coming up a little bit later on. Anything special today?
High five.
Okay, baby.
That is National High Five Day. The only question is where and when did it originate? I think it's much, they tried to say Dusty Baker, Los Angeles Dodgers, 1977, home run, rounding third base, and he high-fived the third base coach. It's like, come on, there was a high five somewhere before that. I know Dusty Baker was a good player and a really good manager, but I don't think we can create.
Well, didn't it come with the Aflac duck? Doesn't he?
Yeah. Well, that could be it. No wonder.
Wasn't he the inventor of the
No wonder they're giving it to Dusty Baker. They can't give it to the duck. Oh, golly. Either way, go give somebody a high five, and you can actually go back to real high fives. You don't have to do a fist bump. All that stuff is behind us, right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Well, the fist bump, that came as COVID, I think.
I think it did, yeah. And I think some are still continuing with that, but more are not, I believe. So anyway, it's also National Haiku Poetry Day. This is interesting. It is a form of Japanese poetry that is non-rhyming. That's good for poets like me. And usually consists of 3 lines with a syllable pattern of 5, 7, 5. Usually an element of nature, a season, a moment of beauty, or an individual experience inspires haiku poems. And here's an example. Here is a haiku poem. Even more so, because of being alone, the moon is a friend. Here's another one. From deep inside the pretty flower, a mosquito. Yeah, this is my kind of poetry, man. I can do that.
The right foot's in a cast. The heart is pure.
Amen, brother. We're moving on. Let's have something to eat. It's National Crawfish Day, a smaller freshwater cousin to the lobster, and a much smaller freshwater cousin. It can provide a unique flavor to many homegrown southern dishes. So of course, you need to, spice it up a little bit. How do you eat crawfish? Take a look at this.
Hi, I'm Pam from the Southern Olympic Test Kitchen, and this is how you eat crawfish. If you'll take the body right here and the tail like this and just break it away like that, and you can see your meat and your fat. That's all the good yum. Peel away the first little ridge, and then you should be able to just squeeze it like this, and then you eat all of that.
Oh, yeah. Now, if you don't want to get your fingers a little messy, that's not for you.
No.
And bring plenty of napkins. But it's
so
good stuff.
They boil them or?
Boil them is, boiling
steam
is
them?
usually, boiled or steamed, right.
All right, so you break them open. And you have to tear them apart.
Yeah.
You accidentally get a little leg in there.
Yeah. Well.
You'll get it right on. Okay, got it.
It's good stuff. And you know what? Crawfish are readily available. You can even get them out of Elk Creek, which we have.
Okay, but you dip them in hot sauce.
Yeah, hot sauce is a must.
Tartar
And,
sauce,
those that you don't eat, you can use as bait.
Oh,
so go fishing with them. So,
right.
Also, National Cheese Ball Day, recognizing a party food that can sometimes be the centerpiece of a spread. Cheese balls have all kinds of ingredients in them. Usually there's nuts on the outside and stuff like that. So how do you prevent crackers from breaking when scooping from a cheese ball?
After you've broken 3 crackers, you realize there's a reason why the cheese knife is on the plate.
Okay. Use the cheese knife, and another good tip they say is let the cheese ball warm up to room temperature. It'll come off much easier than refrigerated.
Okay.
So enjoy your crawfish and cheese balls, and don't get anything stuck in your throat.
All right. Well, speaking of cheese, here he is doing the weather.
High pressure will allow dry conditions and above normal temperatures to continue through the end of the work week. So today in northern Oregon and southern Washington, sunny with daytime high temperatures near 70 in Vancouver, Portland, and Wilsonville, and near 69 in McMinnville. Sunny skies continue as we move down the Willamette Valley with daytime highs in the upper 60s from Salem down through Albany, Corvallis, and Eugene with a light northeast wind 5 to 9 miles per hour. In Central Oregon, sunny with a high near 60 in Prineville and mid-50s for Bend and Sun River with a low in Sun River near 29. Over in Boise, Idaho, sunny and windy with a high temperature near 60. Along the Oregon coast, patchy fog, then sunny, breezy, and low 70s in Coos Bay. Sunny in upper 50s to low 60s for Port Orford, Brookings, and Crescent City, California. In southern Oregon, sunny for the Rogue Valley with daytime high temperatures in the low to mid-70s for Grants Pass, Medford, and Ashland. In the Klamath Basin, sunny with highs in the mid-60s. Into northern California, sunny in upper 60s to low 70s in Wairika, sunny and near 79 in Redding, decreasing clouds and becoming sunny in low to mid-70s for Chico and Sacramento with a light west wind. In the Bay Area, decreasing clouds gradually becoming sunny with highs near 67 in Santa Rosa and Napa, becoming sunny in San Francisco with a high near 63, and today in San Jose, mostly sunny in upper 60s. It's a snapshot of your Thursday weather on the Dove.
And there's a snapshot of our beautiful backyard. We call it home. It's known as the Rogue Valley, and that's on the west side on the east side looking west. Looking good with the shadow of the mountain cast out over the valley a little bit.
Hazy out there, too. What's going on?
Oh, I don't know. A jet took off?
Yeah. Well, we know for sure when they do, don't we?
Yeah, we do.
Anyway. Hey, you had the Reverend Dr. Rick Boya. You guys were together. I don't know if that was right or not.
I don't know. We'll be correct.
Close,
I'm sure it will be.
Yeah. And he made a good point in your guys' discussion that during the events of Holy Week, he was the only one, Jesus was the only one that knew what was going on.
Yep.
They were all the disciples were in the dark.
Mm-hmm.
Even as much as he had already taught them, they were still in the dark. But here we have Anne Graham Lotz, and she takes a look at the disciples, especially after Friday afternoon. That the loss that they incurred there. And she looks at something they didn't realize. Sunday was coming.
Have you ever had something like that that's happened that just absolutely blew you out of the water? And your life was not what you thought it was, and it just crashed and crumbled? I believe that's where the disciples were Friday night after the cross. And the cross was not just the worst thing that had ever happened to them, the cross was the worst thing that's ever happened. Because the cross was history's obscenity. The cross was Satan at his finest hour. The cross was when hell had triumphed. And you can imagine those disciples going back to that upstairs room Friday night. Everything they had thought of, everything they had hoped for, everything they dreamed of, everything they believed in had just crashed and crumbled, and their lives were in shattered shards at the foot of that cross. But it was Friday, and Sunday was coming. They just didn't know that. And the cross and the resurrection that follows tells us, listen to me, that there is life that follows death. And there is blessing that follows brokenness. Do you hear me? And that after the cross comes the resurrection and the glory and the crown. Don't ever forget what comes after the cross. So even if the worst thing that's ever happened to you lasts your entire lifetime, and you've been diagnosed with a disease, and maybe it's terminal, or maybe you're in a wheelchair for the rest of your life after that car accident, or whatever it is, and it's going to last a lifetime, listen to me. Even if it lasts a lifetime, there's still hope for tomorrow. Because this life is not all there is, right?
She's so passionate.
Oh, man.
So passionate. But it's true. The disciples were just absolutely devastated. And in fact, Peter actually said, why bother? He went back to fishing.
Right. Yeah.
And then when Jesus appeared after the resurrection, he went and called them back into ministry.
Yeah.
It's quite a story.
Yeah.
It is really quite a story. All right, let's take a look at some of the top stories on this Thursday, some interesting ones. Obviously, these judges are trying hard to get the president tangled up in things. And the judge, James Boasberg, is back at it, where now he is found what he's calling, quote, probable cause to hold the president and his administration in contempt of court. Here's the question. When he gave the directive to stop the deportation and the planes left anyway, was that a defiance of the order, or was it literally lost in the timing of when the order came out and when the planes left?
And that's a huge question, because what is the timing? Where were the planes? Were they still here? Were they in the air? Were they already over there? So I think timing has a lot to do with this, doesn't it?
It does, but it's the fact that he has found probable cause. Now, he's going to have to make this stick. So what does it mean? What does this mean? I mean, you know, we can be armchair lawyers all day long and probably try and win every case that we go after. But the good thing about being a lawyer on TV, you always win.
That's right. Yeah, but they make more money than us.
There you go. All right. So anyway, here's what Judge Napolitano said about it on Newsmax.
Well, you know, there are two judges looking at the same thing. Judge Boasberg is looking at whether or not his order to turn the planes around, actually his initial order that the planes not leave, was intentionally ignored. Judge Zinix in Maryland is looking at whether or not the government is complying with the Supreme Court's order to extricate Mr. Garcia from El Salvador. Judge Boasberg's a little ahead of the game because he's had the case longer. So when a judge finds that there's probable cause for criminal contempt, that means that he, the judge, will file the criminal complaint against whomever he says engaged in the willful dereliction of his order. And the trial will be held before another judge, not before him, because he's the complaining party. This is very, very unusual for a lawyer. If any of these people as to whom he says there's probable cause of criminal contempt is a lawyer. For a lawyer, this is career-ending because it results in the loss of your license to practice law. He's really turning up the heat on the Trump administration with this one.
So we'll see what comes up. But the question has to be, will the Supreme Court step in again?
Yeah.
I don't know. This is obviously, we know what the motive is here. We know what the intention is here. Why are they going after supposedly the civil rights of an illegal alien who's a criminal? Can you explain that one to me?
Yeah, can you explain how a illegal alien has civil rights?
According to this judge, they got some kind of constitutional right.
Well,
so
we know,
I'm not a lawyer, but anyway.
Well, we know there's judge shopping going on. That's why we have this guy involved. Who's the next judge that's going to look at this?
Well,
where are they going to pick him?
Well, we don't know. Somehow they appear.
Okay.
All right, so in the meantime, our Attorney General Pam Bondi said Tuesday, and she reiterated that Garcia, the one who's really the head of all of this, or he's the person that everybody's concerned about, his supposed civil rights have been trampled upon, is an illegal immigrant who resided in Maryland and was removed to El Salvador. Well, Senator Chris Van Hollen from Maryland decided to go to El Salvador and wanted to talk to Garcia in the jail and was denied. The president and the vice president, well, the president wasn't in town. The vice president said, no, have a nice day. You can't see him.
Right.
All right. So, but here's a little bit of the senator talking about meeting with the vice president of El Salvador.
Well, my goal is to keep a spotlight on this issue until justice is done, until the 9-0 opinion by the Supreme Court is implemented by the Trump administration, which is ignoring entirely that order that they need to facilitate his return. I asked the folks at the embassy whether they'd been ordered by the administration to do anything to facilitate his return. The answer was no, so they're clearly not in compliance. And I said to the vice president of El Salvador, look, you've got somebody in your worst prison, the prison for terrorists, who the United States court has said has committed no crime. And so I asked him if he had any evidence that Kilmar was a member of MS-13 or had committed any crimes. And he said no. So I asked him why he was keeping Kilmar in prison here. And his answer was that essentially the Trump administration is paying the government of El Salvador taxpayer money to keep this person here despite the court orders.
Really?
Okay, so the only thing I can say is I've been surfing most of the headlines this morning as we've been on the show, which you shouldn't do, but I was doing it.
Okay.
And I'm looking for any other media trying to cover the fact, the bombshell he dropped there, that
right.
the Trump administration is paying for this guy to stay in jail.
Yeah.
There's no evidence
And
of
how
it.
are they making those payments?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know, but I mean, that's quite a statement. So we'll see where it's going. But the fact of the matter is he didn't accomplish what he wanted to do. I have a couple of questions. They're quick ones.
Okay.
Who paid for his trip?
Right. Great question. Yep.
Did we pay for it as taxpayers for him to go over there and do some kind of a photo stunt?
Because we normally do. When they go on these junkets, it's usually on our dime.
Or did Maryland pay for it? Or did he pay for it? I think it's worth finding out.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
And the other thing is, obviously his mission was a failure. He didn't get what he wanted to do.
Right. And in fact, he even tried to make an appointment for a return visit to get to it, and the vice president said, I don't think so.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So the next story is that there's so many things going on. The government's been shaken from head to toe, and it's kind of interesting to watch. And Secretary of Defense, head staff, is really trying to get the military department in alignment, the Defense Department.
Yeah.
3 people in 2 days at the highest level of the the Defense Department have been shown the door. And number 3 went out yesterday. His name was Colin Carroll, who had been serving as Chief of Staff for the Deputy Defense Secretary, Stephen Feinberg. And apparently he was linked to the leak. So 3 top officials, all within the high echelon of the Defense Department, around the Secretary and the Deputy Secretary. These are key people that he needs to have complete confidence in. Come to find out that they were leakers and they were shown the door.
Wow. Okay.
Pretty serious stuff.
Okay. We have all, well, at least most of us, have accidentally sent an email, a text, or something to someone we didn't intend to. Was this one of those? Was this a basic mistake, or is there something nefarious going on here? What do you think?
Well, a couple things. You and I are not dealing with classified or near classified information.
True, yeah.
2, we're not trained to how to handle documents within an agency like this. And 3, of all places it lands is the editor of The Atlantic.
Yeah, yes.
It almost had to be intentional.
Right, yes. Yeah, that's a great point.
I mean, it didn't go to his mother.
No.
Didn't go to his brother.
Yeah.
It went to the editor of The Atlantic. I mean, how much of a duh is that?
Right. And especially, it's known what this person's opinion of Donald Trump is anyway.
I tell you, politics is a contact sport.
Ooh, baby.
Ooh, baby. All right, we're gonna go pull some crawfish apart.
It's all yours, God. Yours, God. Everything is yours. From the stars in the sky to the depths of
Come fall in love with Northridge Senior Living, where contemporary sunlit interiors meet old world elegance. Walk through our lovely hallways and enjoy the fun staff-led activities. Forge lasting friendships with other residents and our exceptional caregivers. Dine in style. Gather near the fireplace under breathtaking chandeliers. Our reasonably priced apartments are spacious with private balconies. Northridge is Christian owned and operated, pet friendly, and only 2 blocks from Asante Rogue Regional Medical Center. On-site 24/7 in-home care is available. We also offer senior adult daycare where your loved one can spend the day with us and the evenings with you. Northridge Senior Living, your home.
The biblical instructions for coming to Christ are repentance and faith. So repentance, that is turning away from your lifestyle of sin, and faith, trusting in the Lord Jesus Christ alone.
There is truth in this world because God created it, and His Word is truth. We see this laid out in the Bible, the foundation to a reasonable faith. And that faith is centered on Jesus Christ and His great work.
Monday, Friday, and Saturday on the Dove TV.
Hey, y'all doing out there? Happy Thursday. Monday, Thursday. We'll explain that a little bit later on with a special guest. Good morning to you. Oregon's legislature is in session. Bottom line is, hold on to your wallet.
Oh, gosh. Oof.
So, remember the big one was, we don't know what's in it. You have to sign it so we can read to see what's in it.
Yeah.
That was Nancy Pelosi.
Yeah.
I mean, that's almost has to be one of the epic signings of all time.
That's classic, yeah.
Yeah. Well, there is a problem. If you are a legislator, if you get elected to official office or anything, you're handed stacks of papers to read, digest, and vote upon. And it looks like the Oregon legislature is a little overwhelmed this go around because they have had more than 3,200 bills introduced during this session. It's set a record.
Whoa.
You cannot give a fair hearing to that many things.
Well, who's writing all of this?
Well, it's every legislator who has people in the district that want something done for them. And so they start writing these bills.
Okay.
And some of it's very, special interest groups, lobbyists, and everything else that's going on. So you put it all together and you get 3,200 bills to be introduced. Well, the House in Oregon said, whoops, time out, too much. Well, maybe there's some fresh air. Maybe they opened the windows up there and they got some fresh air going through the place. So they proposed a House bill yesterday, 2006, that would limit the lawmakers could only propose 25 bills in a long-term session. I don't know if that's a limit of 25 per legislator.
Oh, okay, yeah.
25 total.
Right.
But I think what you have here is a review, and this would really bring things down to perhaps a much more manageable thing. So in the meantime, if you can reduce the number of bills that can be introduced, that would be a good thing, Because here's the other thing is, legislators are under a lot of pressure to go back home and say, what did you do?
Yes. Right.
Well, I introduced this bill. I introduced that bill.
Right.
I said this. I said that. I voted this for that.
Yeah.
Well, part of your career is based upon you introducing a bill that gets passed.
Yeah.
Okay. So if they could pull this back into a line, that's probably the case. And so it would be officials elected to statewide offices could only propose 25. So it's per bill. While the Oregon Judicial Department could propose 100. So they're trying to cut it from 3,200 maybe down to 3,100. I don't know.
Wow.
But can you imagine that?
Yeah, and isn't it interesting on how we use that as a measuring stick for how effective a legislator is how many bills that they have written and passed? When is enough enough? I mean, it seems to be just a process unto itself.
I think every legislator, without fail, has a personal interest in a bill.
Okay, all right.
Which is probably what got them elected.
Yeah.
Some people it's education, some people it's environment, some people it's jobs, whatever. So you start working. I mean, if I was elected, I want to freeze the taxes on homes of seniors.
Okay, I'm voting for you.
Okay.
Yeah, run.
But I got to thinking about this.
What?
I didn't go far enough.
Okay, okay, go on.
I want to eliminate taxes on homes for seniors.
Yeah.
Because they're paying for something that for other people.
Right.
They don't have any children going to school.
Paid your mortgage off, now you're paying rent for your property to the state.
Yeah, you don't own your home. Just stop paying your taxes.
Absolutely.
So anyway, so I would probably introduce that bill. And
Draft Perry. Draft Perry.
No,
Draft Perry.
No. Listen, you think you heard on the right side?
Yeah.
Wait till I get done with you.
Okay, enough said.
Okay.
All right.
Anyway, let's check out Wall Street this morning. Let's see what's happening after yesterday with, the Fed's guy coming out and scaring everybody. The Dow's off. Look at this. The Dow went down 391 points. This is yesterday when Powell came out and said that Trump's policies are no good. The Nas went up 48 points, and the S&P was up 25. So the fight's on.
Yeah.
The president's pretty upset with Powell, saying he should reduce interest rates. He won't do it. Gold's at 33.30. Silver's 32.5. And crude oil's bumped up. Ooh, looks like another $1, $66.57. So who survives, the president or the Fed chair, Powell? And I got a funny feeling the president may be on a back away. He's going to intimidate him all day long. They're going to have this war of words, and they're going to be after each other's throat. And that's just the way the game's played, unfortunately. But I don't think the president can fire him.
Yeah, and what prompted Powell to weigh into this?
Well, look who he has served in the past.
Yeah.
And so he's not a conservative. I'll put it that way.
Right. Okay. All right.
Okay. So we have to live with that.
Okay. Well, we've seen a story that President Trump and Secretary Hegseth both kind of put the kibosh on a move from Israel to strike at Iran's nuclear capabilities. Well, Maria Bartiromo asked retired General Jack Keane if he thinks Israel really would take the first strike and decimate Iran's nuclear facilities, and here is his answer.
Oh, there's no doubt. I mean, Prime Minister Netanyahu has said that, and President Trump has said it himself. So that is the ultimatum. The Iranians clearly understand that, and look we know what they're going to do. They'll say, okay, we'll go back to those low-level restrictions. We'll remove centrifuges. We'll do this. We'll do that, and then what'll happen? They'll go to a secret site and begin to rapidly enrich their uranium to weaponization. That's what they'll do. That's the reality of it. That's why they have to dismantle the program with independent inspectors that go anywhere, anytime, and do it by a date certain. Without that rigor there, Iran will eventually get a nuclear weapon. So we are where we are today, and I think we kind of expected Iran to do this. I think that's why the Ayatollah agreed to the negotiations. He was opposed initially because what does he want? He wants sanction relief. He wants Iranian assets that are frozen to stop being frozen. He can get that money back. That's what this is really all about for them.
Okay, so the president has pushed a pause button on Israel, going after it. Okay, I think part of the deal is we know now that Iran has already said no to stopping the uranium enrichment.
Right.
They basically said that's a non-starter.
Yeah.
Will they allow tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock inspectors in?
Oh boy.
And I think that has to be part of the deal.
Yeah, I think
we want to send our inspectors in tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock, and we want to go through all your nuclear facilities and see where you are and everything.
Yeah, I don't think they'll let it.
So what the president is doing is globally setting up the argument that A, they can't be trusted, and B, we tried everything.
We tried everything.
So here comes the surprise.
Yeah, which isn't really a surprise.
I don't think it is.
It's the next step. Yeah.
So anyway, it's yet to be played out. 1/2 on this beautiful Thursday morning, and I don't know, you could have crawfish for lunch, I don't think. Would you have it for breakfast on a piece of toast?
Why not? Yeah. Toast or not.
Pam.
Yeah.
He didn't take his meds this morning. We'll be right back.
Your yard yard is where life happens, but it can be muddy and hard to maintain. Enjoy a maintenance-free artificial turf lawn all year round with Smart Lawn LLC. No mowing, no fertilizing, no watering. Our synthetic grass is beautiful and resilient. It's certified to be lead-free, and there's no need for pesticides. Safe for your children and pets. Smart Lawn LLC has all your artificial turf and putting green areas covered beautifully. 541-941-3538.
Thousands of satisfied customers make Jim Clark's Consignment Country the most recommended RV consignment lot on the West Coast. Even dealers recommend us. That success comes from dealing with only the cleanest pre-owned RVs at the best prices, no high-pressured salespeople, and treating customers with respect. And we've been doing this in the same location for over 40 years. Before you buy or sell your RV, see why so many satisfied customers recommend Jim Clark's Consignment Country. Family owned and operated at 1630 Rogue River Highway in Grants Pass.
Hi, Dad, father and son jewelry. Looking for engagement rings? Ovals, round, pear shapes, and more. All a third off at Father and Son Jewelry.
And let's not forget about our fellas. With Lashbrook, you can have it your way. From plain bands, precious or alternative, thick or thin, we can add stones, engravings, and inlays. Lashbrook can do it all.
Father and Son Jewelry.
Your family jeweler since 1958.
Visit Father and Son Jewelry, 5 generations of family in Medford. The Dove Spring Boost is going on now. Here's an update on what's been raised. Currently, we're at 60% of our goal to purchase much-needed equipment for our station upgrade and remodel. Thank you for your generous giving and support. We can't do it without you. We're not at goal yet, so if you can help, there's still time. You can call anytime or donate online safely at thedove.us. Thank you for supporting The Dove.
Welcome back. 27 minutes before the top of the hour on this beautiful Thursday morning. Well, we're trying to figure out what's going to happen in Iran. And it's front and center in so many ways. So let's check in with CBN News Watch and get caught up.
This is CBN News Watch.
And we begin in the Middle East, where Iraqi Christians are waiting to see if President Trump will step in to protect them from Iran. While the New York Times is reporting the president pulled Israel back from a military strike on Iran's nuclear facilities. CBN Middle East correspondent Julie Stahl has the story from Jerusalem.
The New York Times reports President Trump refused to back an Israeli attack on Iran's nuclear facilities that could have come as soon as next month. In a White House meeting, he told Israel's Benjamin Netanyahu he wants to make a deal to convince Iran to voluntarily abandon its pursuit of nuclear weapons. Trump also says there will be military action against Iran's nuclear facilities if a deal can't be reached soon. However, Iran's top negotiator says his country won't stop enriching uranium and refuses to discuss the issue.
The core issue of enrichment itself is not negotiable.
Meanwhile, a religious freedom activist is raising the alarm over an Iranian-backed takeover of a Christian enclave in northern Iraq. Nadine Menza sent an urgent letter to President Trump asking him to step in and save the Iraqi Christians in the Nineveh Plains from this persecution happening now. Trump's senior advisor Paula White Cain says the White House Faith Office acts quickly in such cases.
To push back, to make sure that people are protected, not killed, not persecuted, and then it perhaps, depending on the situation, goes to the highest level, and our president makes that final decision with all the briefings, with all the information, and takes that action. And I have never not seen him take action where action is needed.
She says a bedrock commitment of the Trump White House is protecting religious rights.
When people are persecuted for them, killed for them, when their families are destroyed, when their lives are destroyed, as a nation, we have to stand up as that beacon of light and saying one religious liberty wrong to one person is a religious liberty wrong everywhere. We cannot tolerate it. We will not tolerate it, because that is everyone's right to worship God.
While Israel is facing war and terrorism on 7 fronts, many pilgrims are coming to celebrate Holy Week. However, overall tourism is still down.
We need people to come back to Israel and visit these holy places and pray here, because prayer for the peace of Jerusalem is prayer for the peace of the whole world.
Albert Vexler of the Jerusalem Prayer Breakfast says it's about more than just tourism, but supporting the nation of Israel.
Moreover, God's word is very clear. Those who love Jerusalem will prosper.
Julie Stahl, CBN News, Jerusalem.
Thanks, Julie. Our Middle East Bureau Chief Chris Mitchell is with us now from Jerusalem. And Chris, let's start off with this New York Times story that President Trump backed off a strike on Iran's nuclear program for now after divisions emerged in his administration. What do you think were the most important points in that report?
Well, one of the important points, I think, Wendy, was the surprise of Netanyahu and his team. I think they had felt like the Trump administration and the government here were on the same page. Obviously not. I think, as the report said, that they wanted something in May. That may be delayed because of these negotiations. Another important point, I think, was the divisions within the Trump administrations about an attack and a reluctance by some to take on Iran militarily. Some wonder over here, what is the threat that Iran poses anymore? They have internal divisions within Iran. There's an economic collapse of the rial, their currency. Their proxies are nearly decimated. That would be the Houthis, Hamas, Hezbollah, including Syria, which was an asset of Iran. And then again, 2 attacks by Iran against Israel failed miserably. So some wonder, what is the threat of Iran right now, and why not go ahead with a military attack?
And Chris, what's your assessment of how the Israeli government views the possibility now of a strike on Iran? Is it still likely to happen, or is Trump trying to avoid it?
Well, it seems like he's certainly want to put the pause on it right now while the negotiations are going on. Will it happen? It really may depend on the White House and what President Trump decides to do. This report really seems to indicate a strike is uncertain. Netanyahu wanted May, but that seems to be delayed, as I said, for these negotiations. Also, a complicating factor is CENTCOM Commander General Cruella is leaving. They would want him on to help coordinate attack. The time to attack and a potential time remains to be seen. But, Trump's a negotiator. He's famous for the art of the deal, and I think he wants to give negotiations a time to go ahead and work before an attack.
Well, a lot to be learned there and to watch. I don't know. Obviously you can negotiate all day with Iran. Basically what it ends up being is a delay practice from their perspective. Mm-hmm. They haven't obeyed to anything they agreed to do. I think the president knows that, so maybe he's trying to convince the world that he tried every means diplomacy, and it failed. So who knows? There could be a lot of things we don't know behind the scenes. Can you trust leaks coming out of the Pentagon these days?
I don't think so.
So there might be some things behind the scenes we don't know yet. All right, we do know this guy, and he's strange.
High pressure will allow dry conditions and above normal temperatures to continue through the end of the work week. So today in northern Oregon and southern Washington, sunny with daytime high temperatures near 70 in Vancouver, Portland, and Wilsonville, and near 69 in McMinnville. Sunny skies can daytime highs in the upper 60s from Salem down through Albany, Corvallis, and Eugene, with a light northeast wind 5 to 9 miles per hour. In central Oregon, sunny with a high near 60 in Prineville and mid-50s for Bend and Sun River, with a low in Sun River near 29. Over in Boise, Idaho, sunny and windy with a high temperature near 60. Along the Oregon coast, patchy fog, then sunny, breezy, and low 70s in Coos Bay. Sunny in upper 50s to low 60s for Port Orford, Brookings, and Crescent City, California. In southern Oregon, sunny for the Rogue Valley with daytime high temperatures in the low to mid-70s for Grants Pass, Medford, and Ashland. In the Klamath Basin, sunny with highs in the mid-60s. Into northern California, sunny in upper 60s to low 70s in Wairika, sunny and near 79 in Redding, decreasing clouds and becoming sunny in low to mid-70s for Chico and Sacramento with a light west wind. In the Bay Area, decreasing clouds gradually becoming sunny with highs near 67 in Santa Rosa and Napa, becoming sunny in San Francisco with a high near 63, and today in San Jose, mostly sunny in upper 60s. It's a snapshot of your Thursday weather on the Dove.
And a beautiful shot of southern Oregon. clear blue skies this morning with temperatures well into the 70s. Looking good.
Hey, do you have any particular podcast queued up on your personal device right now?
Not on my phone, but I listen to it in my truck.
Oh, do you?
Yeah. Once in a while.
Where do you get it in the truck? What do you tune into?
Well,
is it your
podcast? Well, it's through the phone.
It's through the phone. Okay. Yeah. All right. Well, anything in particular?
Well, I'm listening to these couple of
rednecks.
Preachers.
Oh, I'm sorry. Redneck preachers.
Redneck pastor preachers.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we may have them on the air as a guest.
Really?
Yeah. But boy, they're hard to listen to. But boy, they're funny.
Okay. Okay. Well, I listen to a lot of survival stories. In fact, Pam and I, on our recent trip back and forth from Tahoe, I put survival story podcasts on nonstop. Round the clock, all the way back. Pam was like, oh my gosh. She's like, the bottom line is never give up. Never give up. Never give up. Well, it was on this day in history that the whole world watched to see if 3 astronauts would win their fight for survival.
On April 17, 1970, the world held its breath. High above the Earth, a small silver capsule, battered, scorched, and fragile, pierced the atmosphere. Inside, 3 astronauts, James Lovell, Fred Hayes, and Jack Swigert, braced for the final leg of a journey that nearly claimed their lives. Just 4 days earlier, an oxygen tank aboard Apollo 13 had exploded, crippling their spacecraft and turning a mission of discovery into a fight for survival. They had looped around the moon after taking refuge in the lunar module, cold and rationing air, guided only by ingenuity, teamwork, and ground control's brilliance. Now, flames ignited on the heat shield as the command module plunged through re-entry with radio silence, then parachutes bloomed like flowers in the sky. Cheers erupted in Mission Control. At 1:07 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Apollo 13 splashed down in the Pacific Ocean. Against all odds, the crew was safe. It wasn't a moon landing. It was actually something much more.
And it really was. You know, of all the successes that we had in our moon program, you know, the Apollo program, this was one that didn't accomplish its mission and yet is probably the most famous of them all. We saw a feature film starring Tom Hanks, of course, directed by Ron Howard. And there are no shortages of specials on this. There's a great new documentary on this called Apollo 13 Survival.
Wow.
And it's awesome.
Wow.
Just watched it recently.
Okay, good. Good stuff all the way around. Wow, I remember the movie. It was well done.
Yeah, it was.
It was a cliffhanger.
It was, yes.
Well, yesterday I had the, let's see if I get this right now, the Reverend Dr. Rick Boya on, and we talked about this week, Holy Week, and how Jesus navigated 3 separate trials under Jewish judicial system and then 3 separate trials under the Roman judicial system to bring about what his final purpose of coming to earth was all about. So it was, he went through all of that. And this week, here's what he had to say.
You know, there's 2 sets of 3 trials each. There's the 3 religious ones and the 3 civil ones. So each one had its own hypocrisies and its own illegalities, and it was. And the religious judicial system was a wreck, and the Roman judicial system was also a wreck. And that's why it's amazing that the Lord navigated it. You know, people sometimes wonder, why did he not talk to a couple of these people, like Annas, you know, the first guy, the ex-high priest and so on. And Jesus didn't give him what he wanted. And then Caiaphas, Jesus didn't give Caiaphas what he wanted either. And even with the Sanhedrin, he deliberately navigated it so that they would continue to accuse him. And he wouldn't talk to Herod Antipas, of course. You know, Herod Antipas, the guy who killed John the Baptist. He didn't say anything to him. And when Pilate asked him, Jesus admitted, and to the Sanhedrin also he admitted, okay, if you're going to call me the Son of God, you're right. And Pilate, yes, I am a king, but my kingdom is not sourced in this world. Okay, why? How did he navigate that? It's because he had to be crucified, and he knew it. If he talked too much or said the wrong thing, Pilate might not have crucified him. He could have said a bunch of things that he wouldn't have gotten killed. but he knew that's what he was there for. So he navigated it very carefully so that everybody basically got what they wanted. The evil got what it wanted. God got what he wanted, which was the beginning of the victory over death. And all because the Lord Jesus navigated all of these trials. They were kangaroo courts. It was ridiculous. But he navigated them in such a way that the evil motives would be fulfilled against him. And this was all part of God's plan. Peter mentions it in Acts chapter 2, verse 23. He says this was all part of God's plan.
So we look back on it and we see it.
Yeah.
Those in the middle of it had no idea what was going on.
Yeah.
This is a true win-win-win situation. Evil won.
Yeah.
The courts won.
Right.
And then in the end, God wins.
God wins. Wow.
Pretty powerful.
Yeah.
All right, we'll take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Welcome to Rise Direct Primary Care. Imagine a healthcare experience where you're known by name, cared for like family, and treated with compassion. How is that possible? With an affordable, flat monthly membership, you receive unlimited primary care and minor urgent care visits. No insurance needed. At Rise Direct Primary Care, we offer a friendly, affordable healthcare experience where you get a whole hour with your provider. Located in Central Medford and accessible by phone or text, we can typically get you in the same or next day. We prescribe urgent care medications directly from our office, saving you a trip and wait time at the pharmacy when you'd rather be at home getting better. Personalized medical care with a human touch. Rise Direct Primary Care is all about healing the sick with compassion and keeping the healthy healthy. Rise Direct Primary Care. We're here for you. Visit risehealthdpc.com or call or text us 541-827-8603. 541-827-8603.
In the heart of the Rogue Valley, RVTD connects us all, not just through miles traveled, but also through time. With renewable technologies and more convenient ways to get around, RVTD's building a future that keeps our region connected. Public transportation isn't just about getting from here to there. It's about the journey, past, present, and future. Rogue Valley Transportation District, celebrating 50 years of moving our community forward.
The Bible, when you think about it, is the ultimate group project. Think about this. It was written by over 40 different authors over a period of 1,500 years. Authors came from various countries. Most of them didn't know one another. They used a variety of styles, and yet it all fit together perfectly. It has one unified theme, and that theme is Jesus Christ.
Okay, welcome back. Happy Thursday, better known as Maundy Thursday. We'll have a special guest coming up on that a little bit later on. How'd you like to be on a high-speed rail? You're going down the road about 150 miles an hour.
Yeah.
And you run out of track. And it keeps going. Well, that's how crazy it is in California and Texas. As Stuart Varney asked Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy about the high-speed rail project that taxpayers are losing billions on. And here's what he had to say.
I love high-speed rail. We don't have one in America. And by the way, we saved what was at the start $60 million in this Texas project. It would have been $10 to $20 billion of taxpayer money. But the private sector has come in now and said they want to build the project, right? So private sector money is what should make these investments. But what you're talking about in California, it was supposed to go from LA to San Francisco. They're 17 years into the project. They've spent about $16 billion. And Stuart, there's not one track that's been laid for this project. So we're under review right now. In the next 2 or 3 weeks, we're going to come out with our findings. And if, again, what many people have reported on is true, we're going to pull the funding for this boondoggle endeavor. But people have gotten rich, Stuart. Yep. A lot of people have bought land and have sold that to the project, made a lot of money. Again, it's really hard to spend $16 billion. They've done it and have delivered nothing for it. So let's try to find projects in America where we can build high-speed rail, but do it efficiently and bring in the private sector to make those investments, not the taxpayer.
$16 billion.
Well, you know, only in government can you build something, have it lose money, and call it success.
Right.
I don't. So who got the $16 billion? Was it landowners?
Contractors, landowners, yeah. I mean, people like Pelosi's husband went in and bought land and then resold it for the to the state for the high-speed rail and made money off of it. And I got to tell you, we went down to see my mom in Central California, and I was going through the San Joaquin Valley. I hadn't been down there in years. And we're coming north of Fresno by Madera, and all of a sudden there's this big structure, like a huge bridge. It almost looked like the Roman aqueducts.
Oh, really?
Oh, it was huge. And I looked and I thought, what is that? And then it stopped. And okay. And so we go through Fresno now. We're south of Fresno. Here's another piece. Same kind of a structure. I'm looking at that and I thought, what on earth? And I get to Visalia. I talked to my older brother and I said, what is that over by Fresno? And he goes, well, that's that $16 billion boondoggle. It's called the high-speed rail in California. I thought, that's it? And he goes, yeah, that's all they got. There's no track on it. There's no nothing. It's just the bridge.
Gosh.
Oh my word.
Well,
and Gavin Newsom wants to run for president?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. He's probably got a good chance of winning.
Oh gosh. What?
Look at his record. Look how good it is.
Make America California?
Yeah. No.
Oh, don't say it. No.
What was it? Rush Limbaugh said, Californicate.
Yeah, Rush did say that. Yes.
Yeah, he did say that.
Yes.
He said he wants to Californicate America. Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
Okay.
Well,
all right, go ahead.
On a much lighter, fluffier note.
Yes, please.
At a McDonald's in Massachusetts, hundreds of customers were treated to a free meal thanks to one incredibly generous stranger.
Last week at the McDonald's in Haverhill, a man walked in, handed the cashier a wad of cash, and simply said he wanted to pay for everyone's meals until the money ran out. From 1:30 till 5 o'clock p.m., franchise owner David Yee and his daughter Christine Yee gave away 356 meals, all paid for by the anonymous donor. Initially, they were skeptical, concerned the money might be counterfeit. However, local police later confirmed the cash was real. Christine said she had never seen anything like it. She said, we have customers in the drive-thru regularly offer to pay for the car behind them, but that's just one order. To celebrate the unexpected generosity, Christine invited McDonald's beloved purple mascot Grimace to the restaurant and created special cards to hand out with each free meal. The cards, decorated with red and yellow hearts, read, "You have just received a random act of kindness. An anonymous Haverhill neighbor has paid for your McDonald's meal today. We hope this brightened your day. If you feel compelled, pay it forward to someone in your own way." Inspired by the stranger's selfless act, Christine and her father are also giving back by making a donation to the Ronald McDonald House charity. Christine said, "We were given a special opportunity to spread some kindness. We hope everyone who got a free meal today passes that good feeling of caring forward."
All right, I'll take a double fillet of fish, please, with a side of fries. Take a medium and iced tea, unsweetened.
Really? Well, you got that figured out.
Yeah.
Well, good for you.
Yeah. Well, we do see these instances, the pay it forward, but this was done on a whole different level, and they even were suspicious the money was counterfeit. They called in the cops.
Yeah.
They checked it out and said, "No, this cash is good. Keep going."
Okay.
All right.
That's good. Well, you realize the ultimate pay forward is the cross.
Yeah. Great point.
You ever think about that?
Yes.
I
have. That's a great point.
It's the ultimate pay forward. It's the cross.
Yep.
All right. Well, listen, Aaron McIntyre will be with us. We'll be talking about all kinds of things. Is there an ideological divide still inside America?
Oh, boy, I think so.
Is one winning and one losing?
It appears as though perhaps.
Or both being reshaped.
Oh, there's a twist. Okay,
we'll talk to him about that.
All right.
And then Pastor, the Reverend Dr. Dustin Jernigan will be with us.
Okay.
We'll be talking about, because he's pastor of the Jacksonville Presbyterian Church, which has a Maundy, Thursday service. And so if you've never done one of these or attended one of these, you ought to consider it. And we'll talk about that tonight. It's a tenebrae service, which means it's done in the dark.
Oh.
And so we'll talk about this day in that week, the day the disciples abandoned Jesus. I take with you Colossians 3:16. Let the word of Christ dwell in you richly and in all wisdom, teaching and admonishing one another in psalms and hymns and spiritual songs, singing with grace in your hearts to the Lord. Colossians 3:16, a great word for you today. Stick around. We got some good conversation, and enjoy a beautiful day.
If we learn to love each other, and what would it be like if we live like we believe that everybody matters, because we're all here together and we all need each other.
The Dove Spring Boost is going on now. Here's an update on what's been raised. Currently, we're at 60% of our goal to purchase much-needed equipment for our station upgrade and remodel. Thank you for your generous giving and support. We can't do it without you. We're not at goal yet, so if you can help, there's still time. You can call anytime or donate online safely at thedove.us. Thank you for supporting The Dove.
The right cleaning company matters. Choose Dust Plus Cleaning and Carpet Care, a family-owned company proudly serving Grants Pass and nearby communities for over 25 years. We're passionate about delivering the best, whether it's carpets, using purified water for no window spots, or carefully washing solar panels. We're committed to superb customer service from start to finish. Radiant spaces from local professionals. Request a free quote today.
At Kelly's Automotive Service,
being good stewards of what God has entrusted to us
is at the core of our business.
We believe what we do matters.
Every interaction, every transaction is another opportunity
to bring Christ's values into the marketplace.
If you're a technician who wants to be part of something bigger,
or just looking for a new shop to bring your vehicle,
we would love to meet you.
We're Kelly's Automotive Service,
where we service your vehicle,
but take care of you.
Our goal at The Dove is to glorify God and help our audience connect more closely with Him. Something else we do here at The Dove is help connect our audience with reliable businesses and vice versa. Some call it advertising. Here at The Dove, we call it outreach. Connecting businesses with people they can help and our audience with reliable businesses for the help they need. If you'd like to reach out to our audience with your business or service, give us a call, 541-776-5368.
This week on The John Ankerberg Show,
imagine never knowing the gift of love, joy, peace, and hope found in God's Word. For many, that's reality. They long to read it, but can't. For example,
over the years, we've been working with Bible translators, but when they get done with the translation, the majority of the people can't read it. They're non-literate.
So how can we help them?
Join me for The John Ankerberg Show weekdays at 4 o'clock right here on the Dove TV. It'll be encouraging and informative.
Help The Dove with much-needed equipment for our remodel. Pray about giving to our Spring Boost. Thank you from The Dove.
Well, welcome to Focus Today. I'm your host, Perry Atkinson. And, of course, a lot of confusion and a lot of criticism relative to the president's trade policy, especially using tariffs. Delighted to have back with us today Orrin McIntyre. He's the author of Total State, How Liberal Democracies Become Tyrannies. He's also the host of the Orrin McIntyre Show, and he's a columnist for the Blaze News. And there's a picture of the cover of his book called Total State. He has a website, orrinmcintyre.substack.com, and there's the picture of that landing page as well. Orrin, good to see you again, friend. How are you?
Doing well. Thanks for having me.
You bet. We now have a couple of weeks under our belt with this tariff exchange going on and imposing them and then pausing them. Do you see any downside to this?
Well, obviously, uncertainty is always something that scares global financial markets. And going into this, Donald Trump had been very clear that ultimately his goal was to use tariffs in a way that he felt would create better trade deals for the United States and possibly engage in some reshoring of critical industries that would both help the population when it came to jobs and secure our supply lines for national security purposes. Ultimately, I think that's a good goal, but one does wonder in the way that some of this has been rolled out. We're looking for a situation in which we can move our closest trading partners together, feel like we're getting better deals, have their tariffs against us dropped, while also putting as much distance between us and China ultimately as possible. That's a very difficult task to undertake, and it will come with some costs. But I think the Trump administration does need to be a little more disciplined and measured in the way that they go about this.
Too much, too fast?
I think, again, it really is the uncertainty that makes people concerned. We're putting them out, then we're taking them back. It seems like the tariffs go up and down every day. The products that they're going to apply to might change. Again, I think there is a good negotiating tactic that Trump, of course, uses. Of course, he talks about it in The Art of the Deal, about setting the anchor, making the big ask, making people setting them off center and then pulling them back and saying, well, maybe we can do a better deal. Maybe we can have something that's a little more reasonable. And then they feel like they've kind of gotten away with it. That's something that Trump has done over and over again in his rhetoric, in his political dealings, in his business dealings. And so we shouldn't be surprised to see that tactic used here. Unfortunately, it seems like we might not have a steady hand at the till as to where we were coming back to. What was the actual goal? What was the exact number that you're trying to get to? He can't reveal all of that up front, but you do want to feel like ultimately there is a plan in place to know exactly what you're trying to dial in for that economic goal.
So has this created some national security concerns?
Well, again, I think ultimately the hope is to dial down the national security concerns by making our supply chains more reliable. We discovered during the pandemic that we don't make most of our antibiotics or most of our respirators. The people who do are in the very country where the virus we were trying to fight was created. And so you have to ask yourself, do you really want to be completely dependent on that country for life-saving drugs? We currently make semiconductors to launch missiles in China. We use the semiconductors made there in China to launch missiles for the United States military. If this is really our most important geopolitical foe, do we really want to be using their products and our military apparatus? It just doesn't make sense. So if properly executed, this could increase our national security. I think that the situation we had right now with trade with China was just untenable. However, it is a very painful process to decouple yourself from China. And this is always something that presidents have to deal with. Nixon opened China, ultimately trying to drive a wedge between it and the Soviet Union, so we did not have a giant unified communist bloc. That was probably the right move at the time in hindsight, but now we have to deal with the fallout. And the fallout is that we have entangled ourselves with a civilization that is ultimately hostile to our way of life. It is going to continue to be a geopolitical competitor. We need to change that.
All right. So in the meantime, China is being cornered. And to your point, they still make a lot of things that we need. And by the tariff war going to 145% and that tit for tat going on, and majority of our pharmaceuticals coming from there, what's the antidote here?
Well, again, the incentive you're hoping to create is a reshoring process. One of the reasons you have tariffs in the first place is to make the product more expensive to import. That encourages production inside the United States. The difficulty is always in the transition period. You have to have a certain amount of time where the incentive encourages businesses to spin up production, but you still have a lag in between. You could try to go ahead and do that on your own, but then you're talking about a state-controlled economy, a centrally planned economy, which I don't think is what anyone is trying to move towards. And so incentives are really your only option. The difficulty that we ultimately have is that the efficiency and profit that we have created by offshoring is significant, but it has significant downsides, and those downsides don't show up on balance sheets. yeah, it might be cheaper to grow all of our food somewhere else. But as the Romans learned, if you grow all your grain in Egypt and then you lose access to your grain in Egypt, suddenly you have a national security crisis. We can make all of our pharmaceuticals, we can mine all of our minerals, we can outsource all the production of our semiconductors somewhere else, and that might feel better in the moment. It might be slightly cheaper or logistically might work for us in that moment. But if a crisis comes, we're in big trouble. And so we have to go through a certain level of growing pain. The question, of course, is, will it be worth it? And I think that's the questions most Americans are asking when it comes to the tariffs.
Fed Chairman Jerome Powell yesterday really came out and lambasted the president. It drove the market through the floor. Do you think he was accurate in his assessment?
Unfortunately, I didn't see those comments, so I can't speak directly to what he said there.
Okay. But basically, it's the typical response that this is going to create inflation at a very high level that could maybe even be unsustainable. I mean, I don't know. Now you have the Fed chair working against the president. I don't know who wins in that argument.
Yeah, and this is one concern that I had with the tariff program. There's nothing wrong with using tariffs strategically, but you need to have an understanding that coming along with that will be tax cuts somewhere else. The point of tariffs is not just to raise more income for the government. We didn't suddenly become big fans of high taxes. The reason to use them is to strategically maneuver a better trade situation while reducing the burden elsewhere on Americans. If you could pair this with tax cuts, if you could pair this with a reduction in government spending, then we're talking a situation where we might not be encouraging the inflation. But if you just slap the tariff on top of all the other taxes and continue to increase government spending the way that we have been doing continuously for many decades, then you can't be surprised ultimately when people have fears that inflation will follow.
So to that point, I think the president did something really smart when he held up the chart. America saw the imbalance. And that was a good thing for them to see. And a lot of people now go, oh, I get it. Boy, they're paying this and we're paying that. So I think he got a major pass when he saw that. But do you think the president, and can he, tell the American people how close we were, and maybe still are, to insolvency if we don't continue to cut expenses, raise revenue, and have DOGE continue to find fat and fraud?
I'm going to be honest with you. I know that a balanced budget is a big seller for a lot of conservatives, but ultimately, I think for most voters, their major concern right now is not financial solvency. Maybe it should be. It probably should be. But if we're talking about the purely political aspect of this, most people have a hard time actually understanding a number that large when it comes to debt. The idea that we're just trillions of dollars and it's not real to them. It's all kind of monopoly money in a sense. They know that we should probably be making more than we spend, but it's hard for them to really quantify the enormity of the debt and the problem that it really represents. For many of his supporters, I think ultimately they'd rather see a focus on things like deportations, which obviously are in the news and are a big issue right now. But that is more what Trump won on. Again, he did win on trying to reshore, reindustrialize, create jobs for the middle class. However, many people will have a difficulty understanding that one-to-one. And again, if you're looking at the insolvency of the American financial situation, that might be separate from whether or not this, in the short term, incentivizes more manufacturers to build in the United States.
Okay, I understand that. So in the meantime, DOGE is certainly finding a lot of fat and fraud. And I think we're not surprised, but we're shocked that it's as bad as it is, right?
Yeah, obviously you have a bunch of people still just drawing Social Security checks well after, 30, 40 years after their death. We're always told that this stuff doesn't exist, but most of us knew that it did, and it's nice to finally see that uncovered. Of course, DOGE went in with USAID and cut a large amount of programs that were specifically designed, if we're honest, to fund anti-American sentiment and progressive ideology across the board. Again, many people suspected at some level that a lot of this leftism was funded, that there was something behind it, but many of them didn't recognize it was their tax dollars getting the job done. So it's very, very satisfying to see those cuts, because not only are we saving money and putting ourselves and better financial situation, we're ending the funding some pretty evil stuff at the end of the day.
So what we found out in this fraud is a lot of this money was getting kicked back to NGOs. And once you start looking at the NGOs, you realize they're people. And do you think that we'll ever see a connection between the fraud and the kickbacks?
I don't think we'll probably see a lot of prosecutions, if that's what you're asking. Unfortunately, many of these people are pretty adept at avoiding that, and they're connected in a way that allows them to not really see much blowback for this kind of thing. The NGOs were really treated as a cost of doing business. The progressives understood something that conservatives don't. Having an extra governmental network of political actors who are all funding each other, all raising up new leadership, all paying the way for activists. This is a big deal. This is what encourages a lot of people to get involved in politics, for better or for worse. Patronage is often the heart of politics. And so the left being able to do this was a huge deal for them. It allowed them to manipulate many processes. It allowed them to have a weight in things like the media and in academia and even in the medical sphere that they otherwise wouldn't have. But ultimately, I don't think that we will probably see prosecutions, even though there is obviously clear evidence that a lot of this money probably wasn't going to do anything that was good for the United States or the American people.
At the end of the day, if they just stop funding it, that's a huge savings to the budget.
Absolutely. Again, it has the beautiful thing of being both a massive financial win for the United States. It's a big savings to the budget. We're getting rid of that fraud and that waste that American people don't want to see with their tax dollars. And we're also getting rid of political enemies and the funding that they're using to push terrible programs. So it's the best kind of win. It's a financial win. It's a moral win. And it's a political win all simultaneously.
Switching your attention just quickly over to the judicial challenges that the president's having with these lower court judges, which is so interesting. I think we're also seeing what the Democrats had as their final net, and that was to get control of the judiciary to basically get what they want. Boasberg, as you know, came out yesterday and said that he's now processing probable cause for contempt of the administration. I don't know what your take is on that. Does the Supreme Court, though, ultimately step in and correct this nonsense?
Yeah, I don't know how many divisions that judge commands, but I got a feeling he's probably not going to be putting any administration members in contempt of court there. Ultimately, I think that what we're recognizing this time is in the first round of Trump's administration, we saw the battle between him and the bureaucracy, what many people call the deep state. And we recognized that these unelected bureaucrats were going to do anything and everything they could to hold up Trump's agenda. This time around, Donald Trump, Elon Musk, Vivek Ramaswamy, J.D. Vance, we're all talking about the managerial class, the administrative state, the deep state, and the need to battle against them. They were much more aware of that problem. This time, it seems like the left has come with a different strategy. This time, the focus has been through the judges, as you're pointing out, because Trump is doing more this time. He's taking more executive action, and that gives them more of an avenue to challenge in court. Unfortunately, I think we're going to see a lot of leftist activist judges continue down this road unless the Supreme Court steps in. That said, given the tenor from the Chief Justice on this issue, I don't think he's interested in stepping in. He's already kind of come out against Trump, saying that he's trying to protect the independence of the judiciary, the credibility of the judiciary. But honestly, I think Roberts is doing the opposite. He's opening up to a lot of scrutiny. It's very clear that these maneuvers are strictly political. And if something isn't done, then ultimately these judges are going to end up discrediting their bench, because who is going to look at someone who is ruling that we have to return gang members to the United States who are already here illegally due to some misunderstood notion of due process? Who's going to look at that and say that this is ultimately a legitimate force in American governance?
On the surface of the case, it seems what the judge is trying to do with this probable cause for a contempt charge in itself is weak. The charge itself is weak. I mean, even Dershowitz said over the evening he should be held in contempt of court because he's pushing something that there isn't enough to support.
Well, of course. I mean, but we've seen this before from the left, right? We look at Donald Trump and the way that he was prosecuted in New York, where they basically took a misdemeanor that really didn't even apply. It was a local misdemeanor, state law, and they tried to apply it to a national election and try to turn it into a federal charge. So this is, the fact that the left is coming up with novel legal theories in an attempt to desperately block, the advancing of Trump's agenda is not surprising in the least. This is what they did to try to keep him from getting elected in the first place. So of course they're going to try it once he's in office.
Amazing. Hey, we only had you for one segment. Thank you, Orrin. It's always a joy to have you. Let me say to our viewers and listeners, check out the Orrin McIntyre .substack.com is the website. You can check out his show, the Orrin McIntyre Show. That, by the way, that's spelled A-U-R-O-N. And there's the picture of the landing page. And check out his book, Total State. There's a picture of the cover of the book as well. Good to see you, friend. Stay in touch.
Thanks again.
Combining your home and auto insurance could save you time and money. And who doesn't like that? Want surprisingly great rates on auto, home, and life? Now's the time to call State Farm agent Rory Wold in Medford.
Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Your property demands equipment with more reliability, durability, and versatility built in. Kubota equipment is ready to get the job done right.
A ministry moment on the Dove.
Baptism is merely a symbol of the spiritual reality. It declares what happens spiritually when we embrace Christ. When I go under the water, I identify with his death and with his burial. Because my friend, in God's eyes, it was me hanging on the cross. Jesus Christ died as my representative. He died as your representative. And when we go under the waters of baptism, I am fully identifying with his death and burial. Coming out of the water, I identify with his resurrection. He came up out of the grave, he received a new life, and death no longer has a hold on him. And my friend, when I embraced Jesus Christ, I came up out of the grave of sin, and sin no longer has a hold on me.
A ministry moment on the Dove.
All right, welcome back. I want to take a few moments again to give you a little bit of an update of our spring boost and say to so many of you that have responded, thank you so very, very much for being a part of what we're doing here. This is a pretty major thing that we've embarked upon here. We are, after 11 years in this building, we're actually fixing it and making it more efficient. We're putting in insulation, not only for temperature control, but for noise, because we're at the airport. And we're putting in commercial size heating and air conditioning. And so there's a little bit of a picture of some of the stuff that's going on. So the project has been moving really quite well. We have budgeted for the hard cost of the construction, and that's well underway. But we're asking you to help us with some equipment. And so our goal was 128, but guess what happened? I'm a little reluctant to say this, but I'll have to do it anyway. But we just found out when we were at the trade show and came back that one of our major pieces of equipment is no longer going to be serviced by the company that we bought it from. In fact, that company was sold. And so we cannot risk moving that equipment into a new control room. It just wouldn't be wise at all. So we had to raise our goal to $140,000 because of that extra $12,000 to replace a piece of equipment. But we're about 60% there, a little over 60% of our goal. And I want to say thank you so very much. And again, as you know, listening to me through the years, don't take from your church. We're not here to replace the church. We're here to support the church and augment what your pastor and your church is telling you throughout the week. And we also want to make sure that you are involved in other ministries and you support them first. But if the Lord's leading you to help us here at the Dove, we certainly do need your help, and we are grateful for it. And it's a partnership, and we only want you to do what the Lord leads you to do. You can call us anytime at 541-776-5368, or you can safely and securely go online at theDove.us. And like I said, as of yesterday, we're a little over 60% of our goal. So we're there. We're getting there, let me put it that way. And so over the next couple of weeks, we're just asking you, if the Lord's leading you to support what we're doing, those funds will go to equipment. And at the end of the day, the remodel, the fixing of the building, the purchase of equipment, these are just tools. That's all they are, is tools to continue on what God called us to do. And that is to have the gospel on all media platforms. So that's the mission. That's what we do. And so your partnership helps us do that. And we hear from people literally, not only up and down the Pacific Northwest, throughout the United States, and literally around the world. As we are on radio, television, we're on the internet, we're live streaming, we're on Roku, we're on Apple TV. It's amazing. And other opportunities out there that I wish we could take advantage of, but we won't, because there's a lot of opportunities to grow. But we want to be good stewards of what the Lord has entrusted us with. And you can rest assured that your support of this ministry is taken seriously. We are grateful for it. We thank the Lord for your partnership, and we manage it the best way we know how to extend it the best way we know how. It's kind of like the fish and the loaves. We ask the Lord whatever put into our hands, that it's multiplied as we give it out. And I can tell you that on many occasions I can see where that has happened, and you make that happen. And most of all, we ask for your prayers. These are interesting times. We have a lot of, challenges, like you do, to keep all this going. But the impact of the Dove's programming is amazing. We hear from people all day long. And by the way, you can send us a prayer request, and let me tell you how we handle that. When your prayer request comes in, we send it to every staff member, and they personally and privately pray for you. We don't share that with anybody. We just share it among the staff, and they personally pray for you. You are prayed for when you send us a prayer request. But hopefully over the next couple of weeks we can meet this goal, and if the Lord's been speaking to your heart, only do what He's telling you to do. But again, we're asking for your support and meeting this goal of $140,000, and we're about 60% there. So you can call 541-776-5368, or you can go online at theDove.us. That's safe and secure. And as we're flipping the building, what's going on here, it's really amazing. When this is done, let me say this, folks, when this is done, we'll open up the facility, and you're more than welcome to come take a look. But we're kind of putting the studio operation over on the more quiet side of the building, and that is a big move. We're hoping to have the studio in such a way where it will serve not only television but radio and even podcasting a whole lot better by upgrading the equipment. That's the world we live in. We live in a very high-tech world with a lot of computers, a lot of equipment, a lot of software. And then you go outside of that, we have towers and transmitters and all these things. It's quite a deal. But God gave us this building. We are grateful for it. And we got to thinking about, what do we do? Do we move again, or do we fix it? And we all felt, and our board felt, we fixed the building. And that's what we're doing after all these years of being in here. And of course, you've listened to the show where you've heard an airplane literally drive by about 10 feet from the other side of this wall. So we're improving all of that. That's been budgeted. The construction, the hard construction part has been budgeted, but we're just asking you to help us with some much needed equipment. So again, thank you. Thank you so much. And you know this, we're in your ears with radio and audio. We're in your eyes with television, and we're in your hands with the Word for You Today devotional. And we send thousands of these out throughout the Pacific Northwest every quarter. Millions literally go around the world, because I sit on this international board. And today 11 million people read it in China. So you're a part of something bigger than you can imagine, and the impact more than we can possibly think about. And I just want to say your partnership is deeply appreciated. So call anytime, 541-776-5368, or you can go online at theDove.us, safe and secure there. And thank you. Thank you so very much for believing in, praying for, and supporting the mission of the Dove.
Life is complicated enough. Why worry about what to do with your extra car? Skip the costs of maintaining it, storing it, insuring it, or renewing registration. Car repairs? Forget about it. Here's one easy solution to your car problem. Donate it to our station. It's fast, free, tax deductible, and if you donate, you're going to feel incredible knowing you're supporting quality programming. Interested? Just call this toll-free number or donate online. Thank you.
Black Flag Armory offers top brand affordable rifles, shotguns, handguns, and gear. We also offer an array of classes emphasizing safety, self-defense, and accuracy. We strive to provide the absolute best possible experience when buying a firearm. Family friendly for every skill level, Black Flag Armory in Medford and Grants Pass. Online at blackflagarms.com or 541-499-0779. 541-499-0779.
Thousands of satisfied customers make Jim Clark's Consignment Country the most recommended RV consignment lot on the West Coast. Even dealers recommend us. That success comes from dealing with only the cleanest pre-owned RVs at the best prices, no high-pressured salespeople, and treating customers with respect. And we've been doing this in the same location for over 40 years. Before you buy or sell your RV, see why so many satisfied customers recommend Jim Clark's Consignment Country. Family owned and operated at 1630 Rogue River Highway in Grants Pass.
The Dove Spring Boost is going on now. Here's an update on what's been raised. Currently, we're at 60% of our goal to purchase much-needed equipment for our station upgrade and remodel. Thank you for your generous giving and support. We can't do it without you. We're not at goal yet, so if you can help, there's still time. You can call anytime or donate online safely at theDove.us. Thank you for supporting the Dove.
Okay, welcome back. And of course, this is Holy Week, Passion Week, and I am so honored to have with us today. Let's see if I get this right. This is Reverend Dr. Dustin Jernigan. Is that the sequence?
Just Dustin.
No, I know that,
yeah.
And I know you don't like all the other stuff. But is that the sequence?
That I believe so. Yeah.
So you do the Reverend, then you do the PhD, and then you do your name.
Yeah, Reverend, then the doctor.
Yeah.
But you know, it's kind of like saying Reverend. No one calls me Reverend because they know me too well. There's nothing reverent about me.
No. Amen to that.
Right.
Anyway, he's the lead pastor at the Jacksonville Presbyterian Church, and a great church doing great work in the community and literally all over the place. Well, this is Passion Week, and I'm glad you're here for many reasons. Yesterday, I had Rick Boyan. He's a Reverend Dr. Rick Boyan.
That's right. He hates it too when I call him Reverend Dr. Boyan.
He doesn't like it either, yeah. So anyway, he dealt with the trials of Jesus went through this week. There was basically 2 sets of trials, 3 each, and they were basically, sham trials, as you well know that. But some of the takeaway that he had about how Jesus could have spoke any time and he didn't, because what was on his mind was the purpose of him coming to the earth was now coming to completion. But we come to this day, Thursday and Friday. Tomorrow's Good Friday, crucifixion. Monday, Thursday, by a lot of traditions, is overlooked. I know you have a special service tonight. We'll talk about that. But why is Monday, Thursday significant in Holy Week?
Yeah, well, I would encourage people just to consider all of Holy Week is just worthy of being set apart. You could call it making it holy or consecrating it, but you could just take all of Holy Week and just set it apart as a special time in your life, especially if you're a Christian. We don't have a lot of holidays, at least in the evangelical world, but we do know that Jesus was, crucified in the spring around Passover. So this is one of those times where we do know, okay, this is around the time that something monumental happened. And so, I would just step back and say all of Holy Week is worthy of being set apart. Today, Maundy Thursday, or what some Christians might call Holy Thursday. Maundy's kind of a funny word, which we can get into. Today marks really that upper room meeting with Jesus and his 12 apostles, where we really see the heart of Jesus for his people, for all of his followers, including you and me. And this is also where famously Jesus commemorates communion. Interestingly, John depicts the foot washing, but John doesn't depict them receiving communion, probably because John knows that we've all read Matthew or Mark or Luke, so he doesn't feel the need to repeat a lot of information. John's adding details, and it's kind of like tiramisu, right? Like a really good tiramisu has these incredible layers that make them richer and richer. And that's really like reading the Gospel of John, as John assumes you and I know that he's going to give him, really the fourth cup, right? What we call the Lord's Supper. So John adds this rich layer where Jesus, our Savior, foreshadowing him stooping, going down to death, stoops to wash his disciples' feet. And so Maundy Thursday is a commemoration of the Last Supper, but it's also particularly a commemoration of Jesus washing his disciples' feet. So that would be the thing that's like worth reflecting on, is Jesus's humility heading to the cross on our behalf.
And yet they abandoned him.
Yes. Interestingly, Jesus washes Judas's feet, and then Judas leaves. So there's already like the beginning of the dissolution of the apostolic band, right? One of them is betrayed, or is going to betray Jesus. And then by the next day, the rest of the 11 will abandon him. Although somehow John seems to make his way back to the crucifixion enough to be able to, see it there. But it's not sure if he's in hiding or some kind.
So let's back up a little bit. Yeah. A lot of people will recognize the 40 days leading up to Easter, better known as Lent. Mm-hmm. And that is significant. And then this final week is really the highlight of all of them. I mean, all of what you've been doing 3 weeks prior gets maximized this week. Why should we set that time aside?
Yeah, so I would say, as a Presbyterian minister, I would say, well, technically you don't have to. There's no Bible verse that says you have to set aside Maundy Thursday. Right. But there are some things that are just good for you. There's no Bible verse that says, say the Pledge of Allegiance, but it's probably pretty good for you to do that. Yeah. There's a lot of things that we do that are rich in tradition and meaning that we can do without having to worry that we're, making some kind of man-made tradition. So I think if you can set aside that and just say, is it good for my soul to spend one day of my life deeply contemplating Jesus humbling himself for me? I think if you're a Christian, the obvious answer is like, yes, of course, that is worthy of contemplation and prayer and setting aside. Actually, again, this whole week would be worthy of that, because today we're remembering Jesus' humility, his washing of his feet, the betrayal of Judas, and then tomorrow, of course, we commemorate his crucifixion, right? His death on our behalf. So, should you? I guess I would say, yeah, it's probably a pretty good idea. The other thing I would say is just give it a shot. Give it a shot. Spend today maybe fasting and praying and thinking about Jesus' humility for you, and the proof is in the pudding. Like, you might actually, find some spiritual benefit from it.
Isn't it amazing that anywhere from through the trial to where we are now, where Jesus was going, he could have spoke up and changed the circumstances, and he didn't. He could have changed any one of those trials, but he didn't. To go on and to give his life for those that he couldn't trust and those who killed him. Pretty amazing.
Yeah, I think about it as this is the ultimate display of Jesus' character. It's the ultimate display of his virtue. It's his meekness. That's what we see. I mean, we see a lot of other virtues, but, to focus in on one, meekness doesn't mean you're a pushover. That's a misunderstanding, meek and mild. Meekness means that you have the strength to change it, but you choose not to. Martin Luther, talking about, the virtue of meekness, will say things like, it's you having forbearance. It's when someone's really aggravating you, and you could, smack them upside the head, or you could punish them, but you choose to be patient and endure. I always think of it as like, think of a horse. A horse that's trained is meek, right? Like if you and I were to stand next to a horse, we would immediately know that if the horse kicked us, it would hurt way more than if we kicked the horse, right? The horse is stronger than you and I, but the horse has strength, but it's under control. And, that's, when I think about Jesus' meekness, it really is unfathomable because, when I stub my toe, I say things I can't repeat on the radio. And, that's what just comes out of me. What does Jesus say? Out of the heart of man comes all these horrible things. But when Jesus is, betrayed and beaten and rejected, what comes out of him? It's not cuss words. It's not anger. It's pure, undefiled meekness. And that's what Jesus says. I am meek and lowly of heart. I mean, that really is who Jesus is, and we get to see it. And that's part of, Jesus' prayer in the upper room as he says, Father, let me show my people my glory. Let them see who I really am. And all throughout Holy Week, we are seeing who Jesus Christ really is, the one who is meekness itself.
Why is Friday called good?
It is ironic, right? At least it sounds ironic, right? We might think of it as, sorrowful Friday, right? Or pain Friday. We would come up with a different term. But as Christians, we do think Friday is the most beautiful day. It is when Jesus gave his life as, as Paul will say, a fragrant offering, to the Father, which the Father accepts. It's where he bore in his body on the tree our sins. So even though it's heartbreaking and it's the ultimate display of human depravity, to reject the Son of God, it's also this brilliant moment where God, so if you think about, I always think of this image of like, the highs and lows of human history. Well, what's the lowest low of human history? Well, it has to be when we reject the only truly innocent person of all time.
Right.
But God is able to take that low point and sort of, turn it upside down to where it becomes the greatest moment in human history. It's the triumph of God over all things. So that's what makes it good. And, for, I think other, people who aren't Christians, they might think, Christianity is kind of morbid. Why do you always depict this bloody guy on the cross? And really, this is what it means to have the eyes of faith, is that we see in Jesus' sacrifice the ultimate display of self-sacrificing love for sinners.
Okay, so there's an interesting thing, because on the cross, before he says it's finished, he says, forgive them. You can miss that if you read it too fast. You can miss it. He's saying to the Father, after all he's been through, these mock trials, all this stuff, he's hanging on the cross. It's just about to give up his life and say it's finished. He says, forgive them. Do we understand that?
That's like, can we know God? I think we can know God truly, but we can't know him fully, at least not this side of heaven. I think we can know the forgiveness of God, but we can never plumb the depths of that forgiveness. It just goes back to, who is this guy? When people think the apostles or Christians are like making up this religion, I just think like, have you met a human? There's no way we would make this story up.
Yeah.
This isn't a man-made, creation where all of his like closest advisors are total dunces. They don't understand a word. They're all betraying him. They all abandon him. They never understand anything. And then what God most wants to do is to love people and reveal himself. And even on the cross, he is crying out, it is finished. And, I think it's Luke where he says on the way up to the cross, he says, Father, forgive them. They know not what they do. I think if you were to come up with a story, I don't think you would come up with a self-sacrificing, utterly forgiving God. Maybe you might, but the reason is because that's who God is, and you've heard the Christian message.
Right. Well, it's easy for us to look back.
Right.
But during that moment, you kind of go, did they had any idea what was going on? So the term "it is finished," I've heard a lot of sermons, probably have preached on a lot of view of the meaning "it is finished."
Yeah. So it's one word in the Greek, tetelestai, which translates to "it is fulfilled" or "it is finished." And so, it's a word that John also uses. He says, like, this is the scripture being fulfilled. I haven't done a deep dive, but telos is the Greek word for the end or the goal, or to be made perfect. And so, there's kind of like two, options, and I don't know they have to choose between the two. One sense is that like Jesus is fulfilling all of the Old Testament prophecies. That's what he's doing. This would be the interpretation of guys like Martin Luther and most of church history would say, if you were to read the Psalms, particularly Psalm 22, this is David prophesying of the Messiah, where he's pierced in his hands and feet. David prophesies of a man whose clothing is, distributed by the casting of lots. And it's a man who says, I thirst, his tongue is sticking to his roof of his mouth. And by the end of Psalm 22, though, he's leading heaven in worship and praise with people from the ends of the earth. And you're like, hello, ding, ding, ding. How is this? This is how Jesus can say things like the scriptures say that he must be raised from the dead, is because if you were to read Psalm 22, well, halfway through it, all indications are this guy's dead. But by the end of the psalm, he's leading heaven in praise and worship, and he's saved the ends of the earth. So how does that work itself out? See, that would be the Christian interpretation. He has to be raised from the dead in order for him to be victorious over the nations. So all that to say, you could read Tetelestai to be like, no, Jesus is fulfilling all of the Old Testament scriptures. Another more popular and modern understanding of that is that it refers to Jesus paying our debt. It's finished. So that would be maybe more the emotional weight of it is like, this is done, this is finished. Jesus is paying our record of debt against sin. So I don't think you have to choose between those. It's probably both of those things.
Both of those things.
Yeah, it's all of it. All of it is culminating in this moment, right? So it's not either or.
It's just an amazing moment. All right, we'll take a break. When we come back, as you know, you fast forward on the other side of the resurrection. Jesus is on earth for 40 days. There's a lot of appearances there. And then out of that, you have the book of Acts, the birth of the New Testament church. And then you have the first martyr, Stephen. And you know what he said when they were stoning him? Forget them.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing that Jesus said on the cross.
Yeah.
That's pretty impacting.
It's almost like the Holy Spirit of God himself was in Stephen.
Yeah.
Right? Transforming Stephen to sound and talk like Jesus.
For standing up, he's dying, and he says the same thing that Jesus says.
Yeah.
Pretty amazing. All right, we'll take a quick break. We'll be right back.
What if your next ride was more than just a ride?
What if it was an epic adventure filled with unforgettable memories?
At Panoramic Moto Tours, we take you beyond the ordinary, offering curated routes, privately guided with all the details handled.
Our passion is to share the joy of riding incredible roads, exploring new sights and towns, and connecting with others and sharing our stories.
Sound good to you?
What are you waiting for? Let's create your custom tour, or join us on one of our upcoming tours.
The Lost Coast and Trinity Alps, May 16th through the 19th, or the Oregon Coast and Cascades Tour, June 22nd through the 26th. Just click the Tours tab at panoramicmototours.com or call 541-622-3844.
panoramicmototours.com. Your next adventure starts here.
Disasters happen, and Oregon faces a range of disaster threats, including earthquakes, floods, and storms. You can prepare now by taking 3 important steps. Create a home inventory, make copies of important financial records, and contact your insurance company to make sure you have the right amounts and types of home insurance coverage. Be disaster ready by being insurance ready. Visit dfr.oregon.gov/prepare now to learn how.
The Dove Spring Boost is going on now. Here's an update on what's been raised. Currently, we're at 60% of our goal to purchase much-needed equipment for our station upgrade and remodel. Thank you for your generous giving and support. We can't do it without you. We're not at goal yet, so if you can help, there's still time. You can call anytime or donate online safely at thedove.us. Thank you for supporting The Dove.
Okay, welcome welcome back, and so honored to have with us today. We're going to call. I know you don't want me to do this, but I want to be respectful. He is the Reverend Dr. Dustin Jernigan. He's the lead pastor at Jacksonville Presbyterian Church, better known as Dustin. How's
Thanks.
that?
Great.
Okay. We're talking about Passion Week, Holy Week. Today is Monday, Thursday service. You have a special service tonight. I know in the past, last year, not this year, but last year, you did the foot washing, which is amazing. Absolutely stunning. I mean, it's a moment your brain just kind of goes on tilt. You know, it kind of puts you in that upper room. But the other thing that is significant is the slowly sniffing out of the 12 candles. Walk us through that real quick.
Yeah, so I have to give a lot of encouragement and props to our worship director Meredith. She's drawn up a really beautiful service tonight where we are going to be just walking through that last night of Jesus. And so different leaders in the church and staff people from the church are going to just be reading different sections and giving moments of silence for contemplation, and then interspersed throughout the service are going to be songs and little homilies, just little snippets. So there won't be one long sermon. There'll be a thought basically, and it's much more of a contemplative service. And it's really going to walk everyone through all of those passages of Scripture that pertain to this last night with Jesus. And then it's going to culminate with us receiving communion. And, there's this really beautiful book that I would encourage anyone, listening to consider next year. It's by a Baptist scholar named Andreas Kostenberger, and it's called The Final Days of Jesus. And basically, he just takes one day of the Holy Week at a time, and he says, here's what all the different Gospels say happened today. And then there's a short little commentary on it. And it really is impactful to just spend this Holy Week thinking about, what did Jesus do on Wednesday? What did he do on Thursday? And what happened on Sunday morning? And what do all the different gospel writers say? And then how do you harmonize all of those things? So I know I read that earlier this year. Meredith read that, and I think that sparked this idea of what if we worked Maundy Thursday to sort of be this kind of harmonization of the gospel accounts? So we are helping people put themselves in that upper room, hearing from the words of Scripture, receiving communion, hearing from the preaching of the Word, and praising and worshiping our risen Lord Jesus.
All right, 7 o'clock. And that would be Jacksonville Presbyterian Church if you're in the area, in the Southern Oregon region. If you've never been to one, let me encourage you, come tonight. You'll be certainly welcome. Tomorrow, Via Dolorosa, the cross. I think we know how significant it is. We know also how horrible it was. And that is the ultimate price paid there. But we don't hear a whole lot about Saturday. Is it just Peter talks about it, right? I think he's the only one that talks about it?
Yes. Yeah. Well, I think, Peter says some things.
Well, he says a lot of things that he got in trouble for.
He says a lot of things, and they've been debated for a long time as to, So I would imagine that's what.
But I mean, is it purposely quiet on that issue, you think?
I'm not sure why there's silence. That's part of one of the beauties of being a Christian and reading the Bibles, because we have all these questions, and they're just totally uninterested in answering our questions. It's like, when Jesus is raising Lazarus from the dead and he's like, remove the stone. And then someone from the crowd calls out, but it'll stink. It's like a scene from Monty Python. It's like whoever's warning Jesus his body's going to smell bad is so misreading that moment. And Jesus is just like, come on, guys. So I feel like if we were in dialogue with Jesus and we're like, hey, what were you doing on Saturday? He'd be like, why are you asking me that right now? Are you misreading, I don't know what, Reverend Dr. Boyle would say about Holy Saturday, but there are lots of alternatives. I believe Mel Gibson is making a movie, The Passion of the Christ Part 2, that is going to dive into an interpretation of Holy Saturday, which I'm certainly going to go see.
Setting the captives free. Okay, and there's a lot of interpretations of that, but so it's not. Here's another thing that Rick said yesterday that was kind of stunning. If we truly believe that Jesus was all man and all God simultaneously, then God experienced death for the first time on Friday. And that had to be, you almost can't run that through your brain, that God experienced death when God is life. You know, it's kind of hard.
It's the mystery of faith, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think these are things that, you know, it's like when we really reflect on the Trinity, it's like, how does that work? You know, and I don't think, this is why I don't think Christians can plumb the depths of the cross. You know, and it's worth thinking about some of these things. You know, Jesus, fully God, fully man, suffered death for me. What does that mean?
Yeah. I think that the reason I want to kind of just zero in on that a little bit, I think so often this week, if we're not careful, we just zoom through it. We get to Sunday, everybody's happy. Jesus comes back to life, and that is indication of eternal life. But boy, there's so much in between all of that that if we're not careful of the I mean, only heaven knew how it was going to play out. Jesus knew that. So often in the gospel, he knew what people were thinking before they opened their mouth. You know, so that's the God part of him.
Right.
But you get to Saturday, things get a little quiet. You get to Sunday, obviously, is the resurrection. How do we carefully manage Sunday in our hearts?
Yeah, that's a great question. Well, I think the best preparation for Sunday is always, you know, taking the day or two before and preparing your hearts for worship. You know, I think that's part of it. So, you know, trying to enter into the story of today, you know, honoring tomorrow. You know, I'm sure lots of churches all over our state and, you know, community have morning services or noon services or even evening services. I think the store in Ashland has like a 7 p.m. Good Friday service. So I think you prepare for Easter and say, well, take full advantage. There's so many opportunities to dive into the depth of what's going on that I think you could just slow down a little bit, and that would help you prepare for Easter. You know, and then, you know, I mean, I think you could probably, you know, I don't know, get on YouTube and search Holy Saturday and like, you know, look at the different theories. You know, it's pretty fascinating to consider what might happen. You know, when I was a boy, you know, still living with my parents, every now and then I would sneak out of my bed and I would, you know, tiptoe very quietly through our, you know, carpeted hallway, and then I would lay on my belly and pretend like my parents couldn't see me, and I would just like to overhear them talking.
Oh.
And I just wanted to be around my parents because I was a little boy. And I, you know, looking back on it, as a child, I knew there was this other relationship between the two of them that didn't include me, that there was a life of my family of which all I could really do was overhear it. And I was fascinated to be that eavesdropper on this depth of family. So when you think about Holy Saturday or you think about Holy Week and what's going on between the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit, take that posture of a child and just imagine that you're never really going to understand what mom and dad are talking about, right? You can overhear it, but you might not really fully understand. But we can be like children overhearing what our family is really like. And so to me, that's the posture of Holy Week, is we're just the children of God, eagerly, joyfully trying to understand what our Father is up to.
Yeah. Trying to manage the time here. I have George Barna on the show quite often. We talk a lot about various things. His research is amazing, but he's also seeing something very encouraging in that young people are now really seeking truth, and they are really looking at what is truth, which seems to me that it's our golden hour to deliver the truth. Do you think we over-explain the gospel in trying to witness to people? Or do we just try to under-explain it to make it more digestible?
Well, probably all of those things are, you know, mistakes that we make. I think, you know, I'm at the point when I'm talking, there are a lot of people exploring Christianity right now.
Yeah,
you know, Gavin Ortland, a popular YouTube theologian and apologist, you know, posited a few weeks ago, are we seeing a quiet revival?
Oh.
And I liked that language. And, you know, on Sunday, we're going to be baptizing people who are new to the faith, new as of just a few months ago, but they've met Jesus Christ through his word, and they want to be identified with him. And, there's all kind of reasons for why that may be happening. One thing I can think of is I think the world has overplayed its hand a little bit. And I think, the emperor has no clothes on.
Yeah.
And finally someone was like, hey, this is silly, right? Like, this is crazy. And then all of a sudden the townspeople are like, yeah, this is crazy.
Yeah, right.
And so there is a little bit of relief that I feel, because sometimes I feel like Satan is always just like winning the battle, like the day-to-day battle of the spiritual forces. And then I feel like maybe in the last year or two, he's made some mistakes. And it's like, oh, good, he can make mistakes.
Right.
And we can capitalize on the mistakes of the, demonic forces and the evil in this world. And we can respond that there is objective truth. There is right and wrong. There is a reality that is not just there, but good, and that you can lean into it. And so the way I'm approaching evangelizing people now is not just with information, but also imitation. And what I mean by that is, I've talked to people who are considering becoming Christians, and we can talk about the Trinity. But I pretty much, after I've kind of explained the basics, I've basically shifted now to being like, Christianity is meant to be lived.
Yeah.
So why don't you try forgiving your enemies? And why not try praying for them?
Yeah.
And see what God does in your life. This is the evangelism of the apostles, right? Come and see. In John chapter 1, I think it's Philip and Nathanael, they're talking, and Philip's like, I've found the Messiah, the chosen one of Israel. His name is Jesus, and he's the Messiah. Okay, there's the doctrine. There's the information.
Right.
Nathanael's like, whatever.
Yeah.
Can anything good come out of Galilee? And Philip's answer, come and see.
Come and see.
Follow him for a little while. See what happens.
Come and see.
So I think that's what I would tell people exploring Christianity. I don't know. Pray the Lord's Prayer.
Yeah.
And try to mean it.
Greg Laurie said on the Dove just the other day, he said there's 5 Gospels. There's Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, and you.
I like that. Yeah.
So live it in front of people.
Yeah.
All right, tonight, 7 o'clock. If you've never been to a Maundy, Thursday service, I think you'll find this to be very inspiring, very warm, very just a blessing. And there'll be Jacksonville Presbyterian Church in Jacksonville. Check it out. There's a picture of the landing page, and come and experience it. Thank you, Reverend Dr. Jernigan.
Well, always good seeing you, Perry. God
Good to
bless
see
you.
Guys. Thank you. God bless.
Spring is around the corner and summer is on its way. With fire danger biting at its heels, flammable blackberries and underbrush will grow like gangbusters and sprout fire danger in no time. A wise property owner knows the best time to take care of fire danger is to extinguish it before it gets started. GMV Forestry, LLC can help you protect your property with adequate fire brush clearing to fireproof a zone around your precious property. With over 35 years experience, GMV Forestry LLC has the knowledge, experience, and all the equipment you need to get the job done right, offering a wide variety of services like mulching, field mowing, snow removal, driveway clearing, ditch cleaning, gravel delivery and spreading, driveway sweeping, logging, and more. GMV Forestry LLC does it all, and they do it right. GMV Forestry LLC, the team you can trust. 541-660-6445. 541-660-6445.